We are in the Steel Guard training ground. The youngest son of the Patriarch has for the first time finished the training that Raphael gave him. The captain is confused. He is the same kid who used to fake injuries to skip warm-ups. The spoiled brat. The family embarrassment. So when he picks up a sword and takes a stance, the knights can barely hold it in. But this is not the same guy. The captain tells the knight to go easy. Left hand only. No mana, because surely the young master cannot handle a real fight. Aaron's pride takes the hit, and he tells the knight to come at him with full strength. Then he screams, "Begin," and lunges. The speed nearly takes the knight's head off on the first move. Outsiders are completely confused by the young master's performance. Fly barely blocks, gets forced back, and starts panicking. This is supposed to be the pampered rich kid, so why is he getting overwhelmed? An aura explosion happens in the middle of the arena, and Fly falls to the ground. Aaron just stands there asking if he won. The whole training ground that was laughing a minute ago is now dead silent. Everyone is asking how this is possible. See, in this life, this boy is vowing to be merciless, because his past life was far from sunshine and bitches. First, he had absolutely no talent. Even though his grandfather and father were exceptional knights, he could only achieve 3rd class, so everyone mocked this loser with good reason, since he was indeed a useless, incompetent rat. Second, to add fuel to the fire, the only thing he had that had some value was the interdimensional transaction book. What it does is self-explanatory, but I will tell you the details later. The thing is, when he decided to start using it to become a good lord since he was a trash knight, his brother Kuntz sent some goons to kill him and stole the book. But one of the few items he had bought with the book was the bookmark of wishes. Unfortunately, the killers kept healing him with potions and torturing him for hours, all because Kuntz asked them to guarantee that the boy would suffer as much as possible. But when everything faded to black, the bookmark activated, and that is when he woke up in the past. At first, he was confused. He saw his old room and his old maid, but none of that was important. The most important thing was his eyes were glowing with a strange blue fire, and for some reason he now could see the interdimensional trading book without the actual book. Notification pops up, asking if he wants to continue logging in, but there's only a confirm button, no cancel. He's like, why is there no way out of this? But hits it anyway. The system loads up showing his info, and he notices he's got 10 coins somehow. He's thinking maybe they transferred from his past life account, but that doesn't make sense because his level didn't transfer. He does the classic detective chin grab, thinking maybe they were randomly issued, then decides, whatever, let's test this out. And our boy's opening a chest full of coins, thinking, thank God, everything's here this time. Aaron's staring at this chest, promising himself he won't get played like a fool again, and will spend everything properly. He pulls up this interdimensional trading system and starts checking the exchange rates. The book spawns these scales. Coins appear, and a notification pops up saying he's got 30 coins. Aaron's shocked because he was expecting like 25, and that's when it finally clicks for him about the real value of gold. He figures out the game. Market prices fluctuate, and goods have different values in each world, so the move is obviously buy low, sell high. But the exchange isn't stupid either. They've got taxes and commissions, and the lower your transaction level, the more restrictions you face. Aaron realizes he's stuck in this catch-22. To increase his level, he needs results. But to get results, he needs a high level, and finding decent products at level 0 is basically impossible. Then this notification from some seller called Hearthstone pops up about mana stones, and Aaron notices the dude's name is glowing red. He clicks on the seller's profile thinking, wait, I've been using this system for 3 years and never saw warnings like this before. Hearthstone's trying to sell him mana stones, claiming his prices are market rate and that other people sell even more expensive ones. But then another info window appears, revealing this scammer wants twice the actual market price. Aaron's grinning like, oh, so you really thought you could sell stones at ridiculous prices? What a nasty swindler. They start arguing in chat, with Aaron threatening to report him to the exchange, and you can tell Hearthstone's panicking because the info window revealed he's using slave labor at his mines and will do anything for profit. After Aaron threatens to file a complaint, this dude immediately folds and offers half price, and our boy's considering haggling even more but decides to just take the deal. The transaction goes through, but only 22.5 coins get deducted instead of 25, and Aaron's confused as hell until a cashback effect, so now he's more surprised. He's standing there thinking to himself, am I VIP now? But then shakes his head, being a VIP is super hard, so there is no way. Then he shifts his attention to the mana stones. He tests the mana stones and they're legit, so he gets to work studying his family's special breathing technique that requires a strong body and tons of mana. Aaron trained like crazy, swinging his sword to get the body part, then used the mana stones he bought for the second requirement, since these were the 2 conditions to unlock the steel breathing technique. Back in the present, our boy is feeling smug about his victory, trying out poses, but nah, people are still not buying it. They are wondering if it was staged. This hurt our boy's ego, so he turns to this other knight named Yahello and challenges him to a fight. Before the dude can object, this girl walks up, Karen, the eldest daughter of Leviden's Steel Guard, and suggests they just have a back-to fight instead of a mana competition. The captain's freaking out because Mihail is a 6th rank knight who fights like a 5th rank in normal combat. Plus he's tall with long arms, so he's got the reach advantage. Thinking there's no way the young master stands a chance but gives the go-ahead anyways. But then Aaron just rushes in and they start throwing hands, literally bare-knuckle brawling, and everyone's watching in shock because a couple days ago this kid was getting blown away by the wind. Meanwhile, our boy was completely destroying his opponent, throwing punches left and right, and Mihal didn't even get a chance to fight back as the fight was already over. Seeing this, the crowd erupts. They're chanting the young master's name while Eren just stands there calm as hell, and Karen walks up, touching his face, saying how she's sorry that she underestimated him all this time, and how she's proud of him. So Karen's literally insane at combat. Like, this girl would have already mastered the breathing of steel technique if her family didn't have this bullshit rule that only dudes can learn it. Their dad Levidan's out here, genuinely upset that Karen was born a girl because she's clearly the most talented one in the family. But nope, the sacred family technique can only go to the guys, but being a girl didn't stop Karen from being a badass. And that's why when Karen sees Eren actually putting in work during those secret training sessions, she gets it. She knows exactly how much effort that takes. She starts petting his head all emotionally, apologizing for judging him like everyone else did when she should have had his back as his older sister. Meanwhile, Eren is feeling guilty as hell because he only grinded this hard to impress her. Specifically, out of all his siblings, Karen's the only one who isn't a total judgmental asshole, so he was banking on her being the first to notice the new him and give him props. He's apologizing to her mentally and in his mind, preparing for what's to come next. Later at dinner, the whole family's sitting around the table and their dad's going on about how good the food is. Karen mentions she had the kitchen go extra hard because Eren's leaving for the academy soon. Their other brother Levidan's looking at Eren like, damn, when did you grow up? While Eren's internally hyping himself up, thinking his master plan worked. Get Karen's attention and she immediately starts taking care of him. Then his dad brings up how Karen told him Eren beat a knight in training, and our boy's internally screaming, yes, it worked, knowing this is his shot to finally get his dad's attention. He plays it humble, saying, nah, he's not that good. It was just a small sparring match. But then his brother Kieran butts in like, well, actually, the knight was only 6th rank, and they didn't even use magic. Eren's sitting there tight, wondering why this dude had to cockblock him. But Karen swoops in with the save, pointing out that Kieran only hit 5th rank at 18 while Eren's 16. Karen tries arguing back, but their dad shuts him down, calling Eren a fine fellow, and saying his grandpa first saw battle around the same age. Then Levidan extends his hand for a handshake, and when Eren takes it, he realizes this is one of those combat handshakes where they test each other's mana strength. He's panicking, thinking he needs to impress his dad, but also can't show more than rank 3 power or people will get suspicious. His dad closes his eyes, saying he's grown a lot and he was worried his youngest was going to be a total loser. But now he can chill. Karen's watching with pure rage as their dad says Eren will rep the family. While at the academy, admitting he didn't pay enough attention to his youngest and realized it too late. Then the father drops the bomb as a gift for getting into the academy. He's asking what Eren wants. Our boy's freaking out internally but plays it cool, scratching his head like, well, there is something. But nah, never mind, it's too much. His dad's like, speak up, don't worry, I'll try to grant anything. But Eren keeps playing hard to get, saying he doesn't want to ask for something huge because he'll definitely get rejected. Levidan's impressed, saying he didn't know his youngest could manipulate people like this, then offers to take a mana oath. Karen jumps up yelling, father, but it's too late. Levidan's already doing this whole dramatic speech, putting his hand on his chest and swearing by Mana as head of the Steelguard family that he won't break his promise no matter what Eren asks for. Eren's sitting there thinking, oh damn, what do I say now? And then drops his request. Cut to Karen absolutely losing his shit, following their father and Eren down a hallway, screaming about how they can't break family tradition and asking how anyone other than the family head could enter the treasury. Levidan explains that technically only the head gets in, but he went there with his own father back in the day. Karen says that was different, but his dad just asks if he should break his mana oath instead, so Karen backs down. Levidan opens the treasury with a key and lays down the rules. Eren can only go in the outer section. He can take one item, and he's got all the time he needs to choose. Eren's looking inside, thinking, finally, I'm getting my hands on the real book of dimensional transactions. He's walking through this dark room, thinking how this book is the most powerful weapon to protect his new life, and nobody else should have it. He's remembering that in the last 100 years, only 2 people from Earth 1342 were traitors. His grandfather and himself. Unlike his past life when he found this book by accident, this time he can see it with his special eyes, which means it can't be in the secret storage. This whole thing pleasing his sister, getting his dad's attention was all to reach this exact moment, so he could find and destroy the real book of dimensional deals before anyone else gets it. A few minutes later, Levidan's standing outside waiting, and Eren walks out holding a golden statue. His father looks at the statue in his hands and then at our boy. He's confused as hell. He's asking why the hell Eren picked this of all things. Sure, it's some legendary hero, Lazakan, who saved Navarro from the Empire, and yeah, it's worth over 1,000 gold coins, but dude, that's just quick cash, nothing special. Levidan's disappointed as hell, thinking his son literally broke into the family treasury just to grab something shiny to flip for profit. But Eren's internally doing backflips of relief because his dad has no idea what he actually came for. Our boy explains that actually this statue is the best move right now. He can sell it, buy a decent sword, stock up on mana stones, and still have money left over. Levidan just scratches his head, saying Eren's hard to understand, but tells him to do whatever as long as he keeps training. Eren bows his head, saying there's more than one path to success, And hey, if he's not some sword prodigy, maybe the merchant route is his fastest ticket to power. Inside, Aaron's celebrating because he completely fooled his old man. Cut to what actually went down in the treasury. Moments earlier, Aaron was having a full mental breakdown. He's frantically searching through shelves, pushing books aside, thinking, where the hell is it? Because the book of dimensional transactions that he came for isn't there. His eyes go wide as reality hits. Either the book got moved somewhere in these 17 years since he regressed, or worse, someone's actively using it right now, but our boy is trying to stay calm right now. Just finding out it's not here is valuable intel, and he grabbed the first expensive thing he saw, this golden figurine, figuring it'll sell for good money anyway. But then the moment he touches that statue, notifications start exploding in his face. Automatic transaction completed. His Eye of Insight skill was used, and now there are a bunch of notifications in front of him showing him info on the status of cashback bonuses. Irun realizes he still has all his merchant privileges from his past life. His jaw literally drops when he sees VIP account pop up, and he's thinking, no way, this is impossible, but clicks it anyway. The screen lights up showing all his skills maxed out, 0 commission fees, complete seller info, price manipulation abilities, and automatic discounts. Basically, he's got God mode enabled for trading. 3 versions of himself are running circles in his mind, screaming with joy as he realizes with these powers he could move mountains, and his revenge plan just got turbocharged. Cut back to the present, and now Irun's ready to get to work, starting with flipping this golden knight into coins. The statue appears on a transaction scale, and immediately our boy's eyes narrow because they're trying to lowball him at a 115 coins when it's worth at least 140 to 150. He activates his VIP skill flow recognition to see the real value and absolutely loses his mind, screaming, where did these exchange market rats steal my 40 coins? Because 40 coins equal 400 gold, they're trying to pocket. He flops onto his bed thinking how it's convenient to make trades while lying on the bed, something that he never thought was possible in his last life. Meanwhile, the notifications keep rolling in, deal completed. Bonus coins from skills, level up progress, and Irun notes. It's selling crazy fast. He starts browsing for his next purchase, deciding to stick with mana stones since they're safe investments, when some sketchy hooded seller pops up advertising cheap high-quality mana stones. Irun looks at it and immediately starts doing mental math in his head because he very well knows who this guy is. So without hesitation, he sends a message calling him out as a scammer. So Hearthstone gets a notification, checks who's hitting him up, and immediately starts roasting this dude's entire bloodline in his head until he sees the profile picture and freezes. It's that guy who already finessed a discount out of him before, and now this bastard has the audacity to slide back into his DMs asking for more mana stones at the old cheap price. Hearthstone scrambling, trying to save face, stuttering some BS about how that was a one-time special concession and market conditions have changed. But our boy Irun isn't buying it. He just told him to stop lying. Then he casually reminds Hearthstone that their entire chat history is saved, screenshots and all. Hearthstone looks at his screen, calls Irun every curse word in the book under his breath, and then does some quick mental math. He's been taking LS for days now, and hasn't made a single sale, so suddenly selling cheap to this guy doesn't seem like the worst idea. He sighs, swallows his pride, and caves, offering 25 medium stones and 20 small ones. Irun accepts without hesitation. Our boy drops 270 coins, pockets about 40-something back as cashback, and immediately flips around and lists everything for resale. Mediums are at 12 coins and smalls at 3. He's chilling in his room thinking, buy low, sell high. Literally, that's all there is to it, and goes to take a nap like he didn't just commit financial terrorism. Cut to Hearthstone refreshing the marketplace, and when he sees Irun's listings, bro damn near has a stroke. He's slamming his desk, screaming about how he gave this ungrateful bastard a discount, and this is the thanks he gets. Meanwhile, Irun wakes up from his beauty sleep to a whole wall of furious messages. But here's the thing, our boy spent 3 years doing cross-dimensional business deals in his past life, and one rule got burned into his soul like a brand. Never let someone else's emotional outburst shake your bag. So instead of apologizing or backing down, Irun types back the most unhinged, weirdly formal roast session imaginable. He calls Hearthstone a bad, evil bastard entrepreneur, and has the nerve to ask why he thinks he's allowed to yell at customers. Hearthstone's staring at his screen completely dumbfounded, like, is this guy actually insane? He tells Irun to stop, genuinely convinced he's arguing with a psychopath, but the notifications keep rolling in. Irun's stones are selling like hotcakes, so our boy finally throws out an olive branch. Look, buy at market price and we can dead this drama. Hearthstone huffs and puffs, calls it impolite, and refuses purely out of spite at this point. Irun just thinks, damn, this guy's sensitive, and then pulls out the one tactic that cracks every merchant's ego wide open. He calls Hearthstone as a big shot and says how someone of his caliber shouldn't let petty emotions get in the way of profit. And you know what? It worked. Hearthstone takes a deep breath, tells himself business is business, and asks for the market price like a reformed man. With the deal locked in, and even more stones in his inventory, Irun immediately posts an even cheaper listing. Seeing this, Hearthstone is absolutely seething. He once again sends our boy messages asking him if he's gone mad, demanding to know if he's secretly some trust fund millionaire, because nobody sells this cheap unless they're stupid or loaded. Irun sets his teacup down, smiles that little smug smile and thinks, okay, yeah. From a normal person's perspective, Hearthstone's got a point. but Arun isn't a normal buyer. As a VIP member, his commission fees are slashed to nothing, his spending privileges are boosted by 30%, and he can undercut literally everyone in the market while still making profit. He glances at the Mana Stone trade restrictions, notices how laughably loose they are, cuts Hearthstone off mid-rant and just logs off. The man's got actual work to do. He drops to the floor, sits cross-legged on the carpet, and starts absorbing mana directly into his body, letting his mind drift to what's waiting for him down the line. Arun closes his eyes, knowing damn well that if he stagnates now, he won't survive what's coming. He splashes ice-cold water on his face, slams a fist against the sink wall to wake himself up, and decides it's time. He drops the price on medium mana stones to 9.5 coins, and the transaction notifications start flooding in like a broken slot machine. Then the system chimes level up. Access to level 1 trading channel. Granted. Arun stares at that blinking notification, and he's thinking to himself how in his past life it took him a full year to reach this point. This time, 8 days. He looks at his progress screen. Bro has maxed out the trade limit, fulfilled every single system requirement, and is ready to move up. He clicks accept, and boom, system level 1 unlocks with a congratulatory message flashing across the screen. Arun looks at that notification and thinks to himself, alright, this is where things start to get real. Then he turns his attention to his new skills, and the first one is absolutely cracked sponge inside. My head just activated, and this thing is busted beyond belief. It lets him absorb information, events, and skills at lightning speed. But that's not even the wildest part. Now that he's advanced to System 1, the entire game has changed. We're talking about a world where literally anyone, delivery drivers, restaurant workers, random NPCs, can grind their way up to night-level strength. The ceiling on this thing is insane. Before he can even process all that, some weirdo drops a message in the chat that sounds like it was written by someone having a stroke, going on about receiving the indulgence of a god but not having the tools to express it, then asks people to name their price. Arun stares at this mess, thinking this has to be a scam, and everyone in the chat agrees, spamming confusion until the guy finally clarifies he just needs a sword for martial arts. Arun facepalms. Of course that's what he meant. Then another notification hits, and this one actually makes him do a double-take sponge inside the head just maxed out on its own. Side effects reduced and absorption speed boosted by 300%. He's sitting there completely baffled, asking himself why everything's leveling up at hyperspeed. He tries activating Eye of Insight to figure out why his privileges got unlocked, but the thing just refuses to work. He stares at the blank screen, deeply unimpressed, thinking the clowns running the exchange center are genuinely useless. Can't even tell him why he got the privileges, or show him the reason. He shrugs it off, figures leveling up probably auto-triggered everything, and moves on. Then his screen absolutely explodes with notifications. Special scroll sales, zero commission windows, massive discounts, the whole damn catalog flooding his display at once. Arun blinks at the chaos but quickly runs the numbers and realizes none of it actually helps him. Special sales still charge market rate, so they're expensive as hell, and the no commission windows are pointless, since his privilege level already covers that anyway. Then he gets a DM straight from the exchange center, congratulating him on hitting System 1 and dumping 3 coupons in his lap. At first he's not impressed, thinking they just handed him some garbage rewards, but then he actually looks at them and his eyes go wide because these gifts are absolutely broken. The first one is a Dantian image, containing 3 years of internal energy, plus 500 coins, and he raises an eyebrow wondering if this is supposed to be impressive. He keeps reading, and the third reward is something called maximum body and sword stealth, but before he can even finish processing what that means, the sponge skill just devours the coupon whole, absorbing it instantly. Arun stares ahead for a second and then quietly loses his mind because what just happened is actually massive. He pieces it together. Martial arts in his old world ran on mana as fuel, but the system runs on internal energy, and the sword techniques he got from the system aren't just stronger, they feel completely otherworldly, like they're from a different dimension. And the best part, this new internal energy is compatible with his existing mana core. He just needs to open his meridians and he'll be cooking with gas. He puts his hand on his chest, eyes wide, thinking that instantly building a Dantian and absorbing a sword technique is more incredible than he ever imagined. And bro realizes having a system is too broken. As long as he has coins, he can buy anything and become stupidly OP. Speaking of coins, he just got 500 from the system as a gift, so he decides to blow them immediately. With his prep work done, Arun sets his sights on his first target and decides to pay a visit to the spatial exchange merchant named Yahello, operating out of what looks like the most dramatic cave possible, complete with red glowing depths and everything. The merchant spots Arun approaching and immediately lays on the thickest, most over-the-top customer service voice ever, gushing about how much he absolutely adores this customer. Arun tells him flatly to knock it off because it's creepy as hell. The merchant, completely shameless, says to think of it as love for humanity. Arun cuts to the chase and asks to see the martial arts scroll inventory. The merchant grins and runs a quick scan. First-level merchant, solid physical stats, clearly from a lower system, and privately thinks small fry but stays polite because small fry still pay bills. He starts listing off his catalog: the triple sword technique, the sword balance technique, the crouching tiger technique, body elimination, internal cultivation, piercing striking, the whole menu. But Arun's already seen through this entire scam because he recognizes this guy's business model from deep in his memory. He specifically targets System 0 nobodies who are desperate for System One power guys who were weaklings their whole lives and would throw every coin they had at anything that sounded legendary. The triple sword technique sounds infinite and godlike, right? Reality check, it's 3 moves: stab, cut, block. That's literally it. Harun crouches down, stares at the floor, and says flatly that he's been scammed by this exact pitch before. He looks back up with a grin dripping in sarcasm and asks if mastering it will really make him the strongest in the world. The merchant, completely shameless, doubles down and says one technique won't be enough anyway, then offers personal advice for just 20 extra coins. Harun looks ahead and says, "Okay, I'll trust you, Hachel Li." The scene cuts to the 5th world of Mirim, specifically the Mountain Bamboo sect, where one of the subordinates comes bursting in screaming for the leader. Jushong snaps his head around, immediately on edge, demanding to know what the hell happened. The second the name Hachel Li gets mentioned, Jushong's entire energy shifts. He slams his fist on the table so hard you can hear it crack, demanding the source and asking if they're absolutely certain about this. The spatial exchange manager spins around and relays Arun's messages word for word, and Jusong reads them carefully. This random nobody from a lower system is casually sitting on intel about their sect's deepest secrets, asking if they'd reward him for handling their enemy, and if they don't believe him, he'll just let Hachil walk free. Jusong's first thought is that this is obviously some scammer running a con job, but then Arun tells him to check his info. Jusong does exactly that and goes, "Wait, you're from the lower system." Our boy nods and hits him with the big brain question. "So how do you think I know about something as classified as the Bamboo Mountain secret technique?" Hearing that, Jusong goes dead silent because that means this kid got that information directly from Hachel himself. After confirming it's legit, Jusong doesn't waste a single second and asks, "So if that bastard is involved in dimensional trading?" Run reads the room perfectly, sends back a message praising Jusong's sharp mind, and explains that for a fugitive like Hachel, the dimensional deal book is the ultimate insurance policy. His lifeline, basically. 2 seconds later, 200 coins drop into Arun's account, and he literally spits out his drink in shock. Meanwhile, in the chat, Jusong is frantically asking if that's enough, practically begging Arun to understand their desperate situation. Arun just stares at the screen, thinking to himself, "Bro, I literally just wanted my 20 coins back, that's it." He glances over at the merchant's grimly smiling face and thinks that Hachel will never know those 20 coins were the exact moment his entire life started falling apart. But Hachel was never the real target to begin with. Arun looks at his screen, thinking he could honestly just let that guy walk because he wasn't his actual mark. The one he really wants is a bastard named Sokyun, first-class martial arts scroll seller, System 2 operator, and the man Arun holds personally responsible for destroying the Steelguard family in his past life. Arun had gone looking for scrolls to continue his grandfather's legacy, and Sokyun sold him the Bookmark of Desires, a cursed purchase that kicked off the chain reaction that obliterated everything he cared about. Arun's red eye goes ice cold just thinking about it. He clenches his fist and swears quietly that every single ounce of shame and pain he's carried will be returned in full. Then he opens a new chat window, types a greeting, and Sokyun responds almost instantly, offering diploma papers and books of change, and asking what he's shopping for. Arun casually mentions that Hachel introduced them. Sokyun pauses just for a second, thinking to himself that if this guy came through Hachel, he probably already knows way too much about their operation. He plays it smooth anyway, keeping up appearances. The system notification pops up on Arun's screen. Scam librarian. Steals scrolls, sells them to newbies at highway robbery prices. Approach with extreme caution. Sokyun then casually asks if that idiot Hachel is still running the triple technique scam on people, calling anyone who falls for it a complete moron. Arun laughs internally, thinking, "Yeah, that one cuts deep personally." But he keeps his composure, asks if Suyurin is really any different from Hachel, gets mildly scolded for the comparison, apologizes with a smile that absolutely doesn't reach his eyes, and asks to see the sword technique inventory. So Suyurin tries to sell Arun the Plum Blossom technique for 35 coins when the real market price is only 15, basically attempting a shameless scam with a smile, and Arun, who's seen worse scammers but is still mentally cataloging this audacity, buys it anyway without complaint, because he's playing the long game, planning to take a small loss now to build trust and absolutely destroy this guy later for proper revenge. Sekyun, thinking he just scored a rich sucker, immediately offers friendship and welcomes Arun as a valued customer, while Arun coldly accepts the friend request, thinking, "Got him," already plotting his next moves. The scheming session gets interrupted when Ezel knocks on his door, walks in, and completely freezes because Arun's been so deep in revenge plotting mode that his murderous aura leaked out like crazy, which he quickly apologizes for and tries to play off. Ezel stammers through a reminder that he missed morning training, and gets extremely flustered when she accidentally sees some exposed skin through his shirt and has to look away blushing. And Arun mentally notes that if he's already reacting like this before he's even hit his full potential, this is going to get exhausting real fast. Right when he's processing that whole situation, Ezel asks our boy if something is wrong with him because he missed his training today, and also he had some business with young Master Kiran in the morning. As she said that our boy immediately remembers what happened this morning. Arun was peacefully training at the training grounds when his older brother Kiran suddenly showed up, asking what he was doing there. Arun looks at him like, "Bro, why are you here? You never train with these knights because you think that you are better than them." Kiran just casually goes, "Where'd you get that idea?" And Arun's like, "Dude, anyone with functioning eyeballs can see it." That's when Kieran hits him with the "Have you lost your damn mind?" And Arun immediately realizes he messed up. He does that awkward half-turn apology like, "My bad bro, just messing around," and tries changing the subject by asking why Kieran's there. But nah, this sensitive bastard isn't letting it slide, because out of nowhere he swings at Arun, talking about teaching him some manners. Our boy's eyes go wide. He wasn't expecting to catch hands before breakfast. He dodges and thinks to himself that yeah, his brother's always been touchy, but this is ridiculous. Kieran spins around for another hit, and Arun ducks low, genuinely confused about why his brother's this pressed. Then Kieran tells him not to get cocky, just because their dad praised him once, and boom, Arun's hand literally bursts into flames. The brothers' fists collide, and Kieran gets absolutely sent flying backward, looking at Arun like he just witnessed a glitch in the Matrix. He's thinking, where the hell did this power come from? Isn't this kid supposed to be some weak rank 5 scrub? Now this pissed him off, so he activated his aura, using that mana enhancement technique that only rank 2 knights and above can pull off. Arun sees this and internally panics, wondering if his brother's gone completely insane and why he's escalating this hard. See, Arun's been playing the weak rank 5 knight role this whole time, so he can't just whip out his aura in front of everyone without blowing his cover. But now this idiot brother has crossed every line and is coming at him full strength, so Arun can't maintain the act without getting his bones rearranged. And our boy was not in the mood for a hospital visit, so he decides, screw it, I'm kicking his ass today. So Kieran jumps at him with his aura technique, and Arun immediately claps back with the stone-destroying strike. Kieran's face goes ghost white as he gets launched into the air, completely mind-blown about how his little brother got this strong. Arun lands all graceful and dramatic, one arm thrown back, looking down at his defeated brother, who's literally on the ground screaming about how the hell Arun became so powerful. Arun smiles and slowly walks over, saying that yeah, they might not have the best relationship, but doesn't Kieran think he went a bit too far this time? Kieran struggles to his feet and immediately demands answers, asking if this power came from the secret vault, and what Arun took from there. Arun's eyes widen because suddenly everything clicks into place. Kieran's pissed because Arun got access to the secret vault, the place Kieran thinks he should have been allowed into by now. Kieran's on a whole rant about how only he and their father have ever entered it, demanding to know how the hell Arun got in. That's when it hits Arun. His brother doesn't even know there are different sections. There's an outer vault and an inner vault, and more importantly, their father probably doesn't even know about that dimensional transaction book Arun found. Kieran definitely never used it in Arun's past life either. Arun's thinking the chances of anyone actually finding that book are pretty slim, since he never made it to the inner vault before dying. Either the book's hidden in the inner vault, or it doesn't exist in this timeline at all. He concludes that getting into the inner vault is way harder than the outer one, but he needs to figure it out ASAP. Cut back to the present, and seeing how Arun didn't reply and was just staring at the wall like a frozen NPC, Ezel gets concerned and calls out his name. Arun plays it cool, smiling and saying nothing major happened. He just asked his brother to show off his aura, but things escalated. Ezel asks if he's hurt and offers to bandage him up, blushing because she's thinking the young master's all grown up now and probably doesn't want her fussing over him anymore. Arun thanks her but says he's fine, thinking he'll just pop a healing pill later. He's also relieved his brother didn't completely unleash all his rage on him, and he tells Ezel not to worry and to go rest. She bows and leaves. Arun turns around thinking he needs to find a way into the inner vault before entering the academy. The clock is ticking, then his eyes narrow as he remembers. Oh right, it's almost time for that incident to happen, but this time I've got a plan to deal with it. Meanwhile, over at the dumb blonde's room, this idiot is freaking the hell out, saying how it's impossible he lost to that trash brother of his. His sister Darren's watching him lose his mind, biting her lip and noting that her brother just got absolutely demolished. Kieran slams his fist on the table, declaring that Arun's clearly hiding something, since he's been pretending to be weak this whole time. Darren shakes her head, saying everyone knows this. Kieran thought Arun was some harmless bear, but it turns out he's actually a cunning fox. Kieran insists Arun didn't even use his full strength and was clearly holding back. Darren suggests maybe he's just a stronger fox, but Kieran says nah, he could be a straight-up tiger. They agree they need to find out what Arun's hiding and what he's planning. Darren says she'll handle it and get every detail of his secret. Cut to the Merchant Alliance secret meeting, where all of them are cursing out our boy, saying how that bastard is ruining all of their business, and how they need a plan to deal with him in Hearthstone. This bastard was leading this meeting, bro. He has a special beef with our boy. Then the scene shifts back to our boy, and he's chilling in his room, absolutely demolishing dinner when the system starts spamming in his notifications like crazy. He checks it out and immediately notices something weird. Mana stone prices are tanking hard, but he'd expected this to happen. The problem is everything's moving way faster than he planned. See, the issue is he dumped his mana stones on the market for 1 coin less than everyone else, which basically made all the other merchants lose their damn minds because now the average price is completely screwed. But he's not sweating it at all. He takes a sip and goes, yeah, whatever VP privileges mean, I'm still printing money. His inventory pops up showing 34 items completely maxed out, and he's sitting on 1,002 coins. He's doing the math in his head. Medium stones he can sell cheap and still profit, but small stones under 2 coins? That's peasant behavior. It's not worth his time. So he decides to sell the medium ones for now, since he can earn a little profit on those. Plus he needs to improve his system rank, so he can take his revenge on that bastard Sokyun. Cut to Jinzai walking up with a whole-ass catalog, announcing it like he's presenting the freaking crown jewels. It's got martial arts ranked by strength, skills, endurance, agility, and the whole 9 yards. Aaron glances at it and immediately knows this isn't some random street stall garbage. This is expensive premium shit. But he's not impressed enough, so Jinzai pulls out the big guns, a unique primary skill from the Thousand Swords library. A red screen pops up describing this legendary skill set, and Aaron's eyes go wide, not because it's cool, but because holy hell, look at that price tag. This sect isn't playing around. They've got influence that makes even the Mountain Bamboo sect look like a lemonade stand. Cut to a few hours later, and now our boy's talking to Seokyun, still keeping up his act of being a stupid, gullible System Zero idiot. The second Seokyun got his message, he immediately shows up clutching a scroll saying he's been waiting all day for this and then hands over the requested items to our boy. Seeing this, Aaron's a little bit surprised they actually found them. He's low-key shocked they pulled it off that fast. The glasses guy's all proud, saying the whole team hustled because we can't keep customers waiting. Arun smiles and immediately asks for one more thing. He starts spinning this whole story about how he serves this rich lunatic who's obsessed with martial arts and won't be satisfied with mid-tier books, and Seokyun's eating it up, nodding along, ready to help. Arun's playing him like a damn fiddle, asking to see something better than a bunch of basic skills. Seokyun doesn't catch on and starts showing him the Thousand Swords unique skill again. Arun acts like he's considering it, mentions some 3rd or 4th world Mura martial arts, and Seokyun decides to go for it. Arun's eye literally glows because the trap just snaps shut. He asks for an advance payment like it's nothing, and boom, 200 coins drop in his account. The deal closes in 5 days. The whole time, Seokyun's thinking about how they're the only ones in this library section, and he absolutely cannot get caught. Cut to a few hours earlier. Our boy is still talking with Jin Shang and the chat is going well, so he decides to throw in the real question that he's been wanting to ask. Arun casually asks what would happen if someone tried selling a unique primary skill elsewhere. Jin Shang starts laughing like that's the dumbest question ever. What kind of suicidal idiot would steal from the divine swords? Seokyun's lurking behind a shelf somewhere, while Jin Shang swears on his honor that anyone who tries that shit will regret being born. Aaron's grinning because of step 1, complete. Now he just needs to find 1,000 coins, which is the only minor problem left. Now that he's set up the plan to make some guy's life a living hell, our boy decides to take a little stroll. Later, he's sitting outside this yellow building, scrolling through screens, watching his medium mana stone reserves evaporate. People keep messaging asking to buy stones, but then they ghost him with, "We're not selling you shit." Our boy's just poking at his screen, getting increasingly hostile messages telling him to throw his compassion in the trash. Arun mutters that people are way more aggressive than he thought they'd be. Then he spots 2 girls he doesn't have a clear view, so he decides to get a little closer, but then suddenly he hears a smack. Someone just slapped the girl across the face and he freezes because that girl is Ezel, standing there with a red mark blooming on her cheek. Darren's got her hand still raised, demanding to know what she's hiding. Ezel's crying but stays quiet, holding her face and stammering that she's just a simple maid taking care of the young master. Then she slaps her some more and goes, "I'm giving you another chance. Tell me what Arun is hiding from us, or else you're going to need a lot of makeup." And as she's saying that, Darren's hand is already mid-swing when Arun walks up, asking why the hell Ezel's still standing there. Darren barely glances at him, asking what he's doing here, and Arun's like, "What are you doing with my maid?" Darren puts her hands on her hips all condescendingly, saying Ezel's work has been trash lately, and she's just teaching her a lesson. Then she raises her hand again, like she's doing Aaron a favor by beating his staff for him. Ezel's eyes go wide, she squeezes them shut, waiting for impact, and the hand just stops, freezes right there by her cheek. Aaron grabs his sister's wrist mid-slap and tells her if she's got complaints about the maid, she can tell him directly. Darren's squinting, asking him to let go, but he just talks right over her, and then straight up throws her against a tree, telling her to leave him alone. She hits the ground and immediately starts with the manipulation, asking what some insignificant servant means to him. Aaron tells her not to touch his people and to apologize. Ezel's eyes go huge because she can't believe he's actually standing up for her like this. Then Darren does this insane move where she slaps her own cheeks and starts asking if he really wants to act this arrogant, because who's their father going to believe when she shows up with wounds saying her brother hit her? She looks down at Ezel and says she wants to see the maid's face when she claims her brother raised his hand against her. There are already marks forming on Darren's face from her own slaps, and Aran just says she never stops exceeding his expectations for how low she'll go. He steps closer and tells her the girl will remember this once and for all. Darren's mouth drops open, saying she has nothing to do with whatever he's about to accuse her of, but Aran's staring down at her, going, "Oh, you're baring your teeth now? Planning to run to daddy and say your brother hurt you?" We get a close-up of her gritted teeth, and she's panicking inside like, how the hell did he find out about that plan? She's still on the ground and suddenly switches tactics completely, says she's guilty, hands folded, and promises it won't happen again. Iran turns to check on Ezel, asking if she's okay, and she just breaks down crying, saying she doesn't deserve this, doesn't deserve to be protected like this. His hand clenches into a fist, and he tells her she's one of his people. His mouth sets in this hard line and he says, if anyone dares touch one of his people, he won't forgive them. Even if it's the goddamn emperor. Darren's still sitting there listening to all this, her mind absolutely racing. They're standing with their backs to her and Iran tells Ezel she deserves everything he's giving her. She's trying to piece together how her brother went from pushover to protective badass, and none of it's making sense to her manipulative little brain. Cut to a few days later, and Hearthstone's smoking cigarettes and reading through market dialogue, trying to figure out where our boy is getting all these mana stones. He's grabbing his head in frustration when suddenly this guy named the Stone Seller drops a message, saying he thinks someone desperately needs coins right now. Hearthstone looks at the message and is thinking to himself how this guy is somehow always online, but bro has no idea who he is, so he taps on his profile, and all of his info pops out. The display shows he's a human race server, system level 1. Then the Stone Seller sends another message saying how sometimes 10 coins now are worth more than 100 coins later. Hearthstone looks at the message and nods, thinking to himself how he gets it. He's made desperate deals himself when he needed quick cash. But he's looking serious now, saying this kind of seller is collapsing the whole market order. Cut to Hearthstone sitting at a table asking what's being offered. The Stone Seller replies, saying they have two options here. Option 1, buy everything before the troublemaker can get to it. Hearthstone immediately says, that's impossible. Give him another option. The Stone Seller sighs and says, fine. Option 2 is they crash the mana stone price even harder themselves. And since option 1 was too unrealistic, they went for option 2. And just like that, a merchant war began. Cut to a few days later and a screen pops up near Erun, showing medium mana stone prices actively changing, and he puts his hand over his mouth, muttering that a full-blown price war is starting, and he's about to get way busier. Hearthstone clenches his fists, demanding an explanation. Wasn't he told this would give certain results? The silhouette guy's like, I don't remember promising that. I just said to stop the troublemaker from buying all the stones. We need to lower prices. Hearthstone is clutching his head, saying this man won't stop selling stones, and these arguments aren't convincing anymore, but the Stone Seller doesn't give a shit. Let him criticize all he wants. His predictions were wrong, whatever. Hearthstone frowns, asking if he's seriously planning to give in to this offender's pressure. The silhouette guy grins and says, trust me, I've got a secret plan up my sleeve to stop this troublemaker. The Stone Seller continues with his speech, saying how the newbie's losing steam and Hearthstone standing there like, my ass is losing momentum. He's not even showing signs of slowing down. The Stone Seller fires back, asking if Hearthstone seriously didn't notice the change in this troublemaker's whole pattern. And Hearthstone's like, what pattern? I don't see shit. So the guy breaks it down. Whenever they drop the price by 1 coin, the other dude would counter by dropping it 2 coins, and it's been this toxic cycle for a while now, but today's price is exactly the same as yesterday's. Hearthstone quickly pulls up the listing and starts nodding like, yeah, you're right, it didn't change. But what if this guy's one of those dramatic bastards who saves the best moves for the finale? Still, something's not adding up for him. He's sitting there confused as hell, thinking to himself, why would this dude take such a massive risk and just dip out like this? That's when another message pops up, and the Stone Seller's like, bro, isn't it obvious what's happening here? He straight up says the guy's planning to monopolize the entire mana stone business, and when Hearthstone hears that, his eyes go wide as dinner plates. Hearthstone takes a deep breath and asks about sales limits, because obviously that's the real bottleneck preventing any takeover, right? But this guy's got his hand on his chest, looking all confident, saying he'll just hire assistants to sell for him, or create an alliance like they did. Problem solved, easy peasy. Hearthstone's like, wait, huh? The Stone Seller continues dropping knowledge bombs, saying, isn't that literally why this alliance was formed in the first place? He explains the master plan: gather a bunch of sellers under one umbrella, control the mana stone market completely, and then manipulate prices however they want. Hearthstone's actually sweating now, admitting this guy sounds like he just unlocked some secret wisdom of the universe, or achieved trading enlightenment. He puts his hand to his lips and goes, yeah, not gonna lie, the idea is actually solid. Then we cut back to our boy, except surprise, surprise, this whole stone selling guy was Aaron's alt account all along. Man has been sitting there staring at multiple screens, thinking to himself how these special privileges are just absolutely broken and overpowered as hell. He's been waiting for this union to form ever since he first started selling mana stones in the marketplace. And yeah, it happened way faster than he thought it would, but that's not a problem for him, because this time around he's got the max level privilege that these lower tier system peasants don't even know exists in the game. He puts his hand to his face, thinking about how information is literally everything in trading. Whoever controls the information controls the market, so having information access as a special privilege just makes perfect sense. A smile creeps onto his face because he became a member of this multi-union, the literal second it was founded, and he knows exactly why. There are basically two types of people who join this association's first wave: the desperate ones who can't survive without instant rewards and need quick cash, and the complete psychopaths who lose their minds if some random newbie disrupted the current system they've got going. Oh, and the third type, that's this absolute idiot. Hearthstone, the chairman of the whole association. Their entire plan so far is to drive our boy out of the mana crystal industry completely, and once that happens, boom, they control all the prices. Hearthstone's sitting there smiling at his own master plan, playing out in his head like some evil mastermind. He plans to lead this guy straight into the trap he's set up. He's thinking about how within the competition, people will naturally start defending themselves and their turf. He folds his arms, thinking he'll just sit back and watch the fight between this troublemaker and the multi-union play out like it's prime entertainment. And they'll hire some third party to swoop in and grab all the mana stones for themselves at rock-bottom prices. Reincarnated's leaning on his hand, thinking how buying low and selling high when prices spike is literally trading 101, nothing revolutionary or genius about it, just basic business strategy. The scene shifts to Darren's room, where she's sitting at her table holding her head, wondering when the hell her younger brother figured all this out. She's having flashbacks to him approaching her and saying the company name exactly right, no hesitation whatsoever. Then she heard a knock and immediately lost her shit and screamed that she specifically said not to be disturbed, but then our boy called out, saying it's him and to open up the door, so she does. Raidian walks in casually and she immediately asks why he's here. He says he wants to talk. She looks at him, all calm and collected, asking about what exactly. He smiles and drops the bomb. It's about the company. She lets him in and here's the backstory on this Damien firm. It's basically this company that provides noble houses with materials and supplies, a relatively stable business, pretty respected on the surface. Nothing shady about it at first glance. But our boy knows better in his past life. They got super close with Darren after he became a lord, and the company used money to manipulate the hell out of him while he had absolutely no clue what was happening behind the scenes. Back in the present, Darren asks our boy how he even found out about her connection to the firm, and our boy just shrugs like it's nothing, going, it wasn't exactly rocket science. The trading company changed drastically after you got involved in their business operations. He closes his eyes and tells her to calm down because he's not here to expose her or start drama. He just wants to understand her position in all this. He explains that he's the youngest kid in the family, so realistically he probably won't inherit anything from the estate. But at least as a son who mastered the breath of steel technique, he can make decent money as a swordsman and mercenary. But what about her? She's a girl in this medieval-ass society, so she doesn't even have that option available to her. Her hands are trembling on her legs as she asks what he's trying to show her with all this. He fires back, asking who approached whom first in this situation. She closes her eyes and admits they came to her first, offering to do her a favor, and they quickly added support for him too in the deal. She knows eventually she'll have to pay them back for that favor somehow. He frowns because he knows she's lying through her teeth. There's absolutely no way a company that influential and powerful would just randomly approach some noble daughter for no reason whatsoever. She shouts, asking if he's satisfied now with exposing her, telling him to go ahead and criticize her all he wants. He closes his eyes, saying that's not why he came here at all. Arun puts his hand to his forehead, trying to figure out the right approach to get her to actually trust him. She asks what he actually wants from her. Then, if not to shame her, he folds his hands together and offers something she didn't expect. Let's work together on this. Cut to a few hours later, and our boy Arun just wrapped up negotiations with Darren, and she's throwing around all these promises about giving him the full details later on. When he tells her he's leaving everything in her hands, this red-haired menace is just standing there watching him leave with those cold, calculating eyes like she's plotting something. Ari knows damn well this entire agreement is built on bullshit and lies, but whatever, it doesn't matter right now because he's got bigger fish to fry. Darren walks off to her room while our boy's thinking how he's basically stuck working with his sketchy-ass sister, whether he likes it or not. Then Darren's eyes suddenly flare up red and a system window pops up out of nowhere. 800 coins just dropped from the Bamboo Mountain sect. Plus there's this grateful-ass message from them going, I can never repay you for your kindness, and bro's sitting there like, just send a thank you card with actual cash attached next time. That works too. Then he checks out the rewards and holy hell, these guys were really generous because the decorative box he got has bamboo life tablets in it, 10 of them. The guy's thinking to himself how anyone with access to the dimensional transaction book is literally swimming in cash like Scrooge McDuck. Meanwhile, his competition is in the corner crying their eyes out because of our boy's price manipulation. He had to drop his prices by 4 whole coins just to stay relevant. Our blonde mastermind is flipping through the transaction book thinking about how Hearthstone's obviously trying to cut his losses at this point, but why specifically 4 coins? That's the weird part. But whatever. It doesn't matter because bro's got the information asymmetry advantage. All he needs to do is change his nickname in the system, and he can buy whatever the hell he wants with 0 limits on purchases. Plus, with the cashback feature, he's basically paying only about 3 coins per crystal anyway, so he's making bank either way. He checks his inventory real quick, 480 medium mana crystals and 10 bamboo tablets sitting pretty, and his face just splits into this stupid grin because he realizes he can easily grab another 500 crystals without breaking a sweat. He starts buying from Hearthstone's listings like a madman and literally has to tell himself to stop because he's getting too rich too fast, and it's honestly getting ridiculous at this point. Cut to nighttime and the Damien mansion is absolutely crawling with guards everywhere when this sketchy-looking raincoat dude rolls up to the entrance, The guard immediately tries to stop him from entering, but the raincoat guy just covers the dude's mouth with his hand, and when he pulls it back, you see his face is completely covered in nasty scars, looking absolutely terrifying like he survived a blender fight. Scarface says in this gravelly voice that he needs to see the manager, and the guard's sweating bullets now, visibly shaking, but then another guard walks by and suddenly perks up like, oh shit, wait, you're the great merchant Yulof? His entire tone does a complete 180, and he goes, please come in, sir, right this way, explaining how they've been waiting for him and how Miss Darren was personally expecting his arrival. So they escort this scary bastard inside, where Darren's just chilling with her mug, looking completely blindsided and shocked that this terrifying man actually showed up at their mansion. Damon steps forward, all professional, introducing himself as the director of the company, while Darren's squinting at Yulof from across the room trying to figure out how the absolute hell Arun knows this scarred monster, and whether he actually sells mana crystals for real, or if this is some elaborate prank her brother's pulling on everyone. Arun glances back at her with this look and she suddenly gets flashbacks to earlier when Arun was grinning like an idiot and promising her that a serious seller you can totally trust would show up for the meeting. They all sit down at the negotiation table. Arun asks what they're willing to pay per crystal, and Damon's carefully examining one single crystal in his hand, saying it's genuinely hard to judge the overall quality from just a single sample piece. Arun doesn't even hesitate and just casually drops this massive-ass bag stuffed with crystals onto the table with a thud, because obviously he expected that exact response and came prepared. Cut to an hour earlier in the timeline, and Arun's literally celebrating in his room about saving a bunch of coins because the affiliate market prices are expensive as absolute hell. He's holding 2 mana crystals in his hands, carefully planning out his whole disguise strategy. He needs a human skin mask, so nobody recognizes his actual face, a voice-changing pill from his secret stash to alter his voice completely, the whole 9 yards for this operation. There are these huge bags of crystals stacked behind him while he's scrolling through his transaction book, and he decides he'll grab 5 void pills just to be extra safe during the meeting. Since this disguise shit is so ridiculously expensive to maintain, our boy is planning to wrap up the entire meeting in 30 minutes flat, get in and get out. Back to the present moment. Damon picks up one of the crystals, examining it closely and genuinely admires the exceptional quality he's seeing. Darren immediately demands 100 gold per crystal without hesitation. Damon literally chokes on his own spit and says that's way too expensive, then counters with 90 gold instead, adding that nobody else in the entire market will offer more than that anyway. Iron goes completely dead silent for a few seconds, then suddenly gets visibly pissed off, stands up from his chair and announces that he and Darren are leaving this meeting immediately. He dramatically throws a cloak over Darren's shoulders and tells Damon straight up that he can't trade with people who clearly don't understand quality goods when they see them, keeping his hand on Darren's shoulder, ready to bounce out. Darren plays along absolutely perfectly, saying she expected a more serious and professional conversation from a company that supposedly trades with noble houses regularly. Runs internally cheering and celebrating that his sister actually caught on to the hint and is backing his play. They start walking toward the exit, and Damon literally slams both his fists down on the negotiation table in complete panic, his composure crumbling. Darren casually suggests that Arun should probably try selling to another company instead, and that's when the scarred man casually mentions that Kite Company is actually operating nearby in this area. Damon literally jumps out of his seat like his ass is on fire, desperately begging them not to leave the mansion, and frantically agreeing to the 100 gold price, calling Arun quite the persistent negotiator with this nervous-ass smile plastered on his face. Then our boy just stops, looks at him with this dead serious expression and suddenly demands 120 coins per crystal instead of 100. Damon's face goes completely blue like he's about to pass out, stuttering and asking what the hell he just said. He really stares him down, asking if he's deaf or something, and repeats, I want 120 gold pieces per crystal. Our boy drops that price, and Damon's sitting there thinking, what the actual hell? Because if he buys these mana crystals at 120 gold, he's literally making 0 profit. He tries to haggle his way out of it, but our boy just hits him with the look and goes, you think I walked in here without doing my homework on the real prices? Damon's sweating now, completely caught off guard. He leans back in his chair and invites them to sit, saying he'll consider the 120 gold offer. Rinley's not having it, though he straight up goes, consider it. Fuck off. I'm not selling then, and starts walking toward the door. That's when Damon caves completely and agrees to the 120 gold, because he knows he just fumbled the bag. Darren's standing there absolutely shocked, still trying to figure out why the price suddenly jumped from whatever lowball offer they had before. But before she can even ask, Damon starts backpedaling. The guy's rubbing the back of his head nervously, saying he could maybe push it to 130 gold for such high-quality crystals. Arun looks at him like he just grew a second head, asking if this is some kind of joke when the dude claims he'd only have a 10 gold profit margin left. Damon looks down at our boy and explains how after covering storage fees, labor costs, and all the other business expenses, he's really only making 10 gold, that is, if Arun can provide enough quantity to make it worthwhile. And that's when our boy casually drops a massive bag on the table like it's nothing, showing 3 fingers and announcing he's got 300 crystals. The confidence. Damon's whole face goes pale as he realizes he's either about to get scammed or he just stumbled into the deal of a lifetime. Sweat's literally pouring down Damon's face as the reality hits him. Mana crystal prices are entirely based on availability, which means even if you're swimming in money, you can't buy what's not in stock. He's staring at that bag, doing mental math, and realizes it doesn't even matter if he loses this negotiation because the opportunity is too good to pass up. He stretches his arms out wide and admits this deal is actually beneficial for the company, like he's trying to convince himself more than anyone else. Then he puts his hands on the table and confesses he didn't expect much from this random seller, but a run completely exceeded his expectations. Damon's smiling now, saying how impressed he is that Aaron knows the market so well despite having few connections, but also admits he's never heard of a merchant like him before, which is suspicious as hell when you think about it. Our boy catches that vibe and asks directly if Damon finds it weird that some nobody he's never seen or heard of is suddenly selling expensive crystals in bulk. The company head immediately starts backtracking, saying he'd never suspect anyone Miss Darren recommended. He's just curious is all. Aaron turns to his sister, expecting her to jump in and shut down the questioning. But when he looks over, this girl is more interested in finding out his identity than Damon is. Our boy's like, seriously? He exhales heavily and tries to explain something, but then his actual voice starts leaking through and Aaron internally freaks the hell out. He realizes 30 minutes have passed since he took the voice-changing pill, so he starts deliberately coughing throughout the office to cover it up, with a pissed-off expression. He quickly pops another pill in his mouth before anyone notices. Darren looks worried and asks if he's okay, and Aaron plays it off, covering his mouth and apologizing, saying his illness means he has to take medicine regularly. Damon stands up, suggesting it must be difficult for the seller to stand for so long, and says he'll just pay him right away. Our boy smiles and exhales in relief because he just dodged some seriously difficult questions. They finally leave the company mansion and Darren says she's glad they're alone now. Erin's following her when she explains that because of the deal she had to act like they were associates or whatever, but now she wants to know how he knows her younger brother. She's looking at him dead serious, when our boy replies that it's none of her business but nay, she's not letting this go. She says she deserves to know. This catches Erin completely off guard. He turns to her like, girl, what do you mean you deserve to know? But when he actually looks at her face, bro practically sees the definition of delusional staring back at him. Darren starts going off, asking if he thought Damon was just some grocery store around the corner. Why would they buy mana crystals of completely unknown origin? She proudly raises her head and announces that it's because of her guarantee that they even bought the crystals in the first place. Erin's standing there with his mouth literally hanging open because he cannot comprehend where she got all this confidence from. Meanwhile, Darren keeps talking, saying how she's worried the company will blame her if something goes wrong with the crystals, and our boy's still just standing there gaping at her because after everything she just said, his awkward reaction is impossible to ignore. Sweat runs down Erin's face as Darren demands to know why he's trying so hard to hide his identity, and he's thinking she's as sharp as ever, too sharp for her own good. She demands he tell her everything, then raises a finger and announces she's figured it out. This is Erin's trap. Hearing this, he starts laughing loudly at her accusation, and Darren asks what's so damn funny. Erin scratches near his eye while smiling and asks what kind of crazy person would burn through 36,000 gold just to mess with her. Like, does she think he's got money to waste? Darren looks at him seriously, tilting her head, clearly still suspicious. The guy asks if she thinks he's a criminal, and the crystals are stolen or something. Standing opposite her, he points out that he'd literally have to rob the royal vault to get his hands on 300 crystals. Darren admits she thought something like that because she doesn't understand where else he could possibly get so much. That's when Erin pats her on the head and mentions how her brother Erin told him about the fierce competition in the Steelguard family. Darren immediately tries pushing his hand off, asking if he's crazy for touching her like that. Erin looks at her seriously and says she can only rely on her family in situations like this. He's literally holding the surprised Darren by the head now, advising her to get along better with her brother. Bro is out here manipulating his own family members into liking him. Then he turns away and tells Darren to go wait in the carriage, adding that he'll send compensation through Erin later. Cut to a few hours later, and it's already nighttime, and Erin's sprawled out on his bed, doing some quick math in his head. He's thinking, okay, so those medium mana stones sold for 120 gold, which converts to about 12 system coins, minus Darren's 1% cut, minus the 3 coins per crystal. Bro's basically counting his bag right now, and the numbers are looking nice. But then his mind drifts back to what he told Darren earlier about family, and suddenly he's in his feelings. He gets all sad remembering how trash his relationship with his siblings was in his past life, and that's the whole reason he's trying to fix things this time around. Problem is, he can't exactly sit them down and say, hey, I time traveled and regret being a shit brother, so instead he's out here dropping wisdom bombs as Yulef. But if it doesn't come directly from him, from Erin, it won't hit the same way. The irony's not lost on him, but he shakes it off and shifts gears, thinking about how he's this close to getting revenge on that scumbag Sukyun. Our boy's been grinding hard for this moment, hoarding gold like a dragon because in the Murum world, gold's rare as hell and everyone uses it for literally everything. The man's got a whole suitcase packed with the shiny stuff. Cut to a few moments later and boom, he's already hit the daily sales limit. Just as he closes that out, another system notification pops up. It's a message from Sokyun. The moment he sees that name, his eyes light up. Yurun's finger is hovering over the accept button, ready to smash it immediately, but then he stops himself. Wait, can't look desperate. He pulls his hand back, closes his eyes, and gives himself a little mental pep talk. He's literally counting down from 3, then he finally accepts. The screen pops up with a thank you for waiting message. On the other end, So-kyun is adjusting his glasses, muttering to himself that this guy better be punctual because he put his entire reputation on the line, acquiring these secret poison sect arts from the Heavenly Sword Castle. The run starts reading the message, and this man is going off about how incredibly difficult it was to get his hands on this technique, even with all his connections and influence. Your run already knows this dude's trying to scam him 6 ways to Sunday, but he keeps his cool and plays along. He takes a breath and types back, "Thank you for all your hard work." A new screen appears, the chaos cultivation technique. So-kyun's not done with his sales pitch though. Oh no, he's just getting started. He's going on about how this technique is different from all the rest. Unlike that basic heavenly technique that any random castle scrub can learn, this one's exclusive, reserved for the chosen few, the elite. A run sitting there grinning ear to ear because he's got exactly what he needs, eyes closed, looking satisfied as hell, like he just won the lottery. Then So-kyun raises a finger on screen, asking, "Hey, can you pass something along to your client?" Arun's eyes snap open wide. So-kyun says he's going to be brutally honest here. 2,500 coins. Sounds like a lot, but for the chaos cultivation technique, that's literally pocket change. He's sitting at his desk all professional-like, explaining that on the official market, this thing only costs 2,000 coins, which should tell you everything you need to know about its value compared to the heavenly technique. And get this, the market price, 5,000 coins. Arun's sitting there thinking this is exactly how this bastard operates. He creates this false sense of exclusivity in the buyer's head, and then sells them hot garbage at inflated prices. Honestly, if this man wasn't an expert merchant, he'd be writing those clickbait YouTube titles or running crypto pump and dump schemes. Our boy's mind flashes back to his past life, remembering how this is exactly how So-kyun got to him before. This bastard straight up robbed him, and he was one of the main reasons Arun ended up in such a bad spot. Just thinking about it, Arun's dying of embarrassment and rage, remembering how trusting this scammer was literally the biggest mistake of his entire life. Back in the present, Arun asks the million-dollar question, "How much do you want to sell it for?" So-kyun adjusts his glasses like the slimy businessman he is. 4,000 coins, and that's with a 1,000 coin discount, by the way. Arun's hand tightens on his leg, knuckles going white. He's thinking that even though he's short a full 1,000 coins, he can probably cover the remaining expenses somehow. He types back, "So I owe 3,800 then, considering I already paid you 200 earlier." So-kyun raises his hands in mock innocence. Nope. He asks if this is Arun's first time doing a major transaction in System 1, because clearly he doesn't understand how this works. He already spent those 200 coins acquiring the book in the first place. The Zrung closes his eyes, genuinely shocked at how absolutely wicked this bastard is. He tries pushing back, saying how So-kyun's asking for an absurd amount, 1,700 coins is way too much. But then So-kyun hits him with the counter, asking why So-kyun's even reacting like this. It's not like he's the one paying. Ultimately, it's his client's money, right? So why not take the easy route and just talk to the client first? See what they say? Back in his room, Arun's absolutely fuming, cursing this bastard out in his head. He was always like this, making it seem like I'm the one who loses if I don't accept. He puts his hand to his lips, doing the mental math. Even if he uses all his special privileges and discounts, he's still 25 coins short. The only way to get the money is through the exchange center, and he absolutely does not want to do that. He'd rather smash the coins on the ground and watch them shatter than exchange them at that scam center. But right now, he doesn't have any other choice. Time's running out. Then he tells himself to calm down, not to feel bad about this, because he'll just take it all back later anyway. 200 coins is nothing in the long run. He'll make this bastard pay back 100 times that amount. After the exchange goes through, Arun sends a message to So-kyun. "I'm ready for the deal." The trade happens. Our boy receives the chaos cultivation technique, while that scumbag gets his 4,000 coins. And the moment Arun hits accept, a wide smile spreads across his face. The prey had finally taken the bait. So our boy just got the trade confirmation and checks his account balance. It's literally negative. But instead of panicking, this man starts grinning like an absolute psychopath and biting his finger, thinking about how sweet revenge is about to taste. He's wondering if this is the feeling the Bamboo Mountain sect gets from hunting Hawkshul for over a decade. Because honestly, he doesn't feel even a little bit guilty about what he just did to So-kyun. Nah, our boy's actually excited about the incoming chaos he's about to unleash. Right on cue, he gets another message from So-kyun, thanking him for the smooth trade. Arun's sitting there smirking like a villain, thinking, someone seems really happy right now. Cut to So-kyun's room, and yep, this bastard is celebrating hard, pumping his fist in the air and going on about how it's not every day he finesses someone for 4,000 coins. Man's probably already planning what he's going to spend it on. Arun leans back in his chair with this evil little smile creeping across his face and says out loud to himself, "I wonder how long this guy's going to stay happy." Then he starts typing. So-kyun sees the message pop up and gets immediately weirded out, asking what Arun means by that. But instead of answering the question, our boy just casually drops this bastard's real name in the chat, Jin-seok, and calls him out for being a scammer. So-kyun freezes. Then Arun follows up with another message, asking if the librarian knows what he's been doing behind their back. Now this bastard is sweating bullets. He starts absolutely freaking out internally, screaming in his head, "How does he know my real name? Who the hell is this guy?" He tries playing it cool though, typing back all casual like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But Arun just smiles even wider and tells Seo-kyun to stop embarrassing himself. Then our boy casually suggests, hey, why don't we call the librarian as a third party to verify all this? Seo-kyun screams back in all caps, no, we can't do that. Arun's literally covering his mouth, trying not to laugh out loud, asking why not. And he starts role-playing this whole imaginary conversation like, oh librarian, your trusted employee Jin Seok has been, until Seo-kyun finally breaks and types, okay fine, I'm Jin Seok, you happy now? Now Seo-kyun's sitting at his desk imagining some massive martial arts beast towering over him, dripping with killing intent, and he's sweating bullets wondering who the hell this person is. Is this some rich dude with a fighting hobby? Was this entire thing a trap from the start? He frantically pulls up Arun's profile to do some digging and sees it, System 0. His eyes go wide because this makes absolutely no sense. How could some random brat from a lower system, literally the bottom tier, figure out that he's been stealing martial arts techniques from the library and selling them under the alias Seo-kyun the merchant? There's no record of this information anywhere. Arun decides it's time to lay down the law. He types out, all right, listen up. I'm about to give you some rules, and I strongly suggest you pay attention. The moment you break any of these rules, you become the main enemy of the Castle of Swords. Seo-kyun thinks he found a loophole. He adjusts his glasses with his middle finger, grinning like he's outsmarted our boy. Wait a second, if I'm their enemy, then you'd be their enemy too for working with me, right? He's feeling pretty smart about that comeback. Then he literally jerks back when Arun responds, yeah, that's exactly what I think. And Seo-kyun's confused now, so Arun continues. I don't care how big the Castle of Swords is, they can't move between dimensions. What are they gonna do, send me a strongly worded letter? Seo-kyun tries another angle, panicking. Okay, but what about suspending your account? They can do that. But Arun's just sitting on his sofa looking smug as hell, waving his hand dismissively like he's swatting away a fly, saying, you really think so? Nah, you're going to start feeling real guilty, real soon, trust me. Then he drops the hammer. What if I return all the books right now and report to the library that they have a corrupt employee selling stolen goods? The merchant's face goes from confident to absolutely horrified in 0.5 seconds flat. Arun's not done though, he keeps going. I heard that in the Skysword Castle, thieves who steal completed cultivation skills get treated like actual criminals. Such a shame, really. Considering the torture methods they use, your end is pretty close. He pauses for effect, then adds with a smile, you're pretty brave to steal from them. I'll give you that. Arun rests his chin on his hand with this soft, almost gentle smile on his face, thinking to himself, yeah, he's definitely scared shitless now. Then he looks at the screen with that snake-like gaze and asks, so do you want to live? Seo-kyun stammers back, yes, like his life depends on it. And Arun lays out the rules like he's reading terms and conditions. You die if you respond after 5 seconds. You die if you close this dialogue window. You die if you don't do exactly what you're told. You die if you answer disrespectfully. Then he gives the first order, simple and clean, return my money. When Seo-kyun hesitates for even a second, Arun goes, oh, and rule number 5, you die if you pretend not to understand what I'm saying. The merchant absolutely panics and immediately sends back 420 coins. Arun's sitting there genuinely puzzled, because that's not the number he gave, and Seo-kyun frantically explains through messages about the 5% system transfer tax that gets deducted automatically. Arun slaps his palm against his forehead like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about the tax. But then this evil grin spreads across his face as he asks, so who's going to return my 580 coins? Should we ask the librarian to cover your student debt? Seo-kyun stutters. I'll do it. I'll send it right now, and immediately transfers another 580 coins. Arun's balance jumps to 3692 coins, and his eyes go wide because, hold on, he has 1,000 more coins than he started with, even after accounting for the transfer tax. But before he can investigate that mystery, he remembers something else and types, oh right, what about that 200 coin deposit from earlier? Seo-kyun screams back something about how he used it to bribe guards and had to spend his own money, but Arun's eye literally glows red in the reflection of his screen and boom, another 200 coins are transferred. Then our boy continues the extortion spree. Alright, since the chaos cultivation technique is handled, let's move on to Green Cloud and Scarlet Dawn techniques, plus the 8 Cloud Dragon martial arts. While we're at it, notifications start flooding in one after another. The merchant's face is buried in his hands like he's having a mental breakdown, and his account balance drops all the way down to a pathetic 215 coins. Arun's watching this with the biggest smile on his face and types, you know what? I think you should pay me for my time too, considering all the effort I had to put into this. Then I'll let you go. Lloyd would be so proud of our boy right now. The moment Seo-kyun reads that last message, his eyes nearly pop out of his skull. He's thinking to himself in absolute terror. How does he know my exact balance? Can this guy see my account? Is he a VIP player? What is happening? So Seo-kyun's sitting there sweating bullets, completely lost on why this VIP is coming after him so hard. He's asking what the hell he wants and why he's doing this, and our boy just casually drops, oh don't mind me, I'm just collecting on some old debt. Before Seo-kyun can even ask another question, Arun cuts him off real quick. You don't get to ask questions here, buddy. Seo-kyun tries the classic broke boy defense, saying he's got nothing left, but Arun immediately calls bullshit. He knows damn well Seo-kyun made a fortune scamming people through that zero-sum system. Seo-kyun's like, nah bro, I spent it all on booze, women, and keeping 2 wives happy. I'm actually broke, even if his bank account's empty though. Eren points out he's still got valuable stuff to sell. That's when Sequel's face goes pale because he realizes where this is heading. But it gets so much worse. Eren starts talking about martial arts, and you can see the panic in Sequel's eyes. This man wants his internal energy, his cultivation techniques, his body lightning ability, literally everything that makes him who he is. See, in their world, martial artists are defined by their techniques. Losing all that's basically a death sentence. Sekyun's got tears streaming down his face as Eren gives him 10 seconds to choose. His life or his martial arts. The countdown's going, and Sekyun's completely broken, sobbing on the table because he knows if he had even some basic techniques left, he could rebuild. But giving up everything means he's worse than zero. The trade goes through, and the second Eren sees the list of techniques he received, he immediately starts roasting this man. Bro, why are all your techniques so trash? Sekyun's full on crying now, begging to know what else Eren could possibly want, since his balance is literally negative 800 coins. Eren tells him to quit being so dramatic. He knows what a bastard Sekyun is. He's definitely got something stashed somewhere. But when he checks the profile and sees the description, a man who lost everything, even Eren feels a little bad. My bad, man. Then Eren tells Sekyun he can go back to whatever pathetic life he had before. Sekyun's confused as hell because didn't they promise to spare him? Eren clarifies the misunderstanding. He'll let him live, but only if Sekyun becomes his obedient little puppet. See, Eren thought about just killing him and calling it a day. But that felt too easy, too quick. He remembers everything from his past life, and realizes this bastard doesn't deserve a clean death. Real revenge means making someone suffer so badly they're begging for the end. Eren gets this absolutely unhinged look in his eyes, and promises Sekyun is going to make him hurt so bad he'll be praying for death. He'll keep tabs on him through email to make sure he stays miserable. Sekyun tries to say something, but Eren's already done talking. He just walks away with this satisfied smile because everything went exactly according to plan. Cut to the next morning, and our boy's out here taking a victory lap through the forest. Hyped as hell to test out all those martial arts he finessed off Sekyun. As the sun rises, he's running through the trees using this Thousand Sages footwork technique, and a system screen pops up showing the details. At first he thought it was just about speed, but then he jumps up high with his arms spread out like he's flying, and when he lands he finally gets it. This technique is way more than he expected. He thought he might actually die trying to absorb all these skills, but his special ability let him soak everything up perfectly. He's tested most of the techniques already, but now it's time for the main event, the whole reason he went through all this trouble. He pulls out a sword and starts flowing through attack moves, one after another, and you can tell this is what he'd been waiting for. All that effort, all that planning, was just to get his hands on the Mystery Blade technique, the same legendary technique that turns Lucan Steelguard into a mythical knight before it supposedly died with him 10 years ago. And now, our boy's bringing it back to life in these same lands, wielding a technique everyone thought was lost to history. Eren's standing there staring at this absolute mound of rubble he just created. Eyes wide like, okay, maybe I went a little too hard with training, but looking at all that destruction gets him thinking, could Yahello pull this off? The dude's a first-class knight, so probably, since internal energy and aura work differently. But what really messes with his head is that Yahello, literally known as the greatest knight in the land, is ranked the same as Sekyun. You know, the guy who sat on his ass all day doing nothing. That thought alone is terrifying. Eren starts getting annoyed at himself for overlooking stuff like this, but then it clicks. Wait, he's been looking at this all wrong. He stares at his hands with this huge smile because of all these insane skills. They're his now. Time to actually see what he's working with. So he goes full training montage mode, testing every technique one by one, and he's loving it. He's running through the forest using the footwork of 1,000 changes. Though something feels slightly off, maybe he doesn't fully understand the system yet, but whatever, the skill is still broken. He punches the ground and absolutely obliterates it, rocks flying everywhere, thanks to the breaking fist of despair. Then he stretches out his fingers all concentrated and checks out Golden Wheel, which he thinks is kind of the weakest skill, but at least it shows pressure points, so it might be useful later. He's wiping sweat off his face, exhausted, thinking about how all 5 techniques work with continental martial arts. But then he starts second-guessing himself. Is he wasting mana by training internal cultivation? He decides not to overthink it because martial arts draw way too much attention anyway, and now's definitely not the time to stand out. The more he thinks about it though, this is actually a win-win situation. The internal cultivation of Danyan and his heart's mana could both be clutch in different situations. He's scratching his head, realizing he basically needs to train twice as hard now, and he's chuckling to himself, wondering if he can actually combine these 2 completely different techniques since they use the same energy points. Worth a shot, right? He closes his eyes, focuses, and starts mumbling some philosophical mumbo-jumbo about mirages being close yet far. Next thing you know, there's this bright ball appearing in the darkness with sparks flying around it. He still can't see the full picture properly, but then his hands start glowing straight up silver, and Eren's genuinely surprised seeing this silver aura manifesting. Cut to a bit later, and Eren's back at the castle and heading upstairs, and he's having one of those shower thought moments where the more he thinks about everything, the more questions pop up. But honestly, getting revenge and feeling good about it is the best he can hope for at this point, so he's rolling with it. Mid-staircase, some servant comes sprinting up in full panic mode, saying he's been searching for him all morning like his life depends on it. Arun's just like, chill bro, I was out for a walk, and asks what's got him so pressed. Turns out Daddy Dearest has been looking for him, and this servant's practically on his knees begging Arun to haul ass to his office ASAP. Our boy's confused why his dad wants him this early, but heads over anyway because you don't ignore those summons. He knocks, gets the come in, and finds his father grinding away at paperwork while Kaloi the overseer is standing next to him. Arun's thinking how Kaloi's this calm, useful dude who manages the estate, not a knight but still dangerous with a sword, basically his father's right-hand man and personal stalker. His father Lelevaden looks up, immediately clocks that Arun's been training, and says he likes that energy, but then Arun tenses up hard, because standing in front of his dad is like standing next to a damn supernova. This man's at the heroic rank, and for context there's this invisible wall between awakened and heroic that most people never break through, so yeah, Daddy's built different. Cut back to the present, and Lelevaden hits him with, didn't you say you had other paths you wanted to pursue? Training since dawn seems a little off-brand for you. And Arun explains there are different paths, and he doesn't have to pick just one, like this is some single-class RPG. His father points out he's chasing 2 rabbits, the sword and trade, which aren't exactly beginner-friendly skill trees, and his eyes widen as he tells Arun he's curious how many more times he'll manage to surprise them. He had thought that it was Darren that had the merchant skill in the family, but it turned out that he was wrong. Then he asked our boy why he was hiding it all this time. So our boy once again drops some philosophical BS about a nail sticking out getting hammered down, so it's better to keep that power level hidden. The praise ends there though, because now comes the ass-whooping portion of this meeting. Lelevaden asks if Arun knows about his mistake, and Arun nods. He admits that he was wrong using the family name to conduct trade, and our boy's sweating bullets now because his father casually mentions he'll be meeting with this merchant personally. The old man's asking why he's been so quiet lately and if they can stay in touch, and Arun's like, yeah, we'll meet up, don't worry. Then his dad drops the question about leaving for the Night Academy in 3 days, and Aaron confirms everything's sorted. But when asked if he needs help, internally he's like, yep, there is really something that you can do, but I can't exactly ask for it. So our boy gets all vague and mysterious, saying just caring is enough with that. The conversation ends, and Aaron's standing there like, how the hell did my dad figure everything out so fast? But before he can even process that, Cowley shows up wanting to talk, and he doesn't waste a single second and asks our boy, how did Aaron's dad find out about the whole situation between Darren and the firm? Aaron knows someone snitched, and he's sweating because if his dad interrogates Darren directly, that man's gonna fold faster than a lawn chair and spill everything. But here's where it gets interesting. Cowley explains the dad was actually surprised and thought Irun would be the one stopping his sister from getting involved in this mess. But nothing like that happened, and Daddy's not even mad about it. Instead of going full Asian parent mode with the yelling and punishment, he's letting the sister learn her lesson the hard way by dealing with the consequences herself, though this time it worked out fine, so nothing that they can do about it. But it's a problem for our boy because all of Darren's weak points just vanished into thin air because of this development. Cowley then asked our boy how he figured out the connection between the firm and his sister. He's almost sure that someone from the firm tipped him off. But nope, our boy just shrugs and goes, I was just guessing. Land this big, you need major customers, and merchants will do literally anything to hook them. So they threw out bait, and Irun's sister chomped down on it like a hungry goldfish. Cowler dips after that, leaving Irun standing there thinking about how this whole situation is starting to really piss him off. With everyone gone, Irun decides he needs to get some prep work done before the academy. So he pulls up this affiliate market screen to look at investments, and as soon as he sees the prices, he's absolutely livid because everything's crazy expensive. A year of internal cultivation costs 3,000 coins, which is apparently what first-class workers make in a year. And just to clarify, a year of internal cultivation isn't actually spending a year training. It's more like a measurement unit of power or progress, kind of like how we measure computer storage. He remembers grinding for a whole year using basic techniques back in the day, and how the system locked in these prices ages ago. And while he can't say they're unfair, he definitely wishes they were cheaper because who doesn't want a sale? So Irun starts bargain hunting, sets the filter to a max of 300 coins and scrolls through the shop until something pops up, some weird listing from a girl talking about her husband, which is sus as hell. But whatever, he grabs it, 10 years of internal energy for 2,300 coins. Looking at what he bought, he realizes for that price he could have gotten potions or fermented cultivation stuff to slowly absorb, but our boy doesn't have time for the scenic route, so he sits on his bed and decides to just raw dog the whole absorption process right there. He closes his eyes and shit gets wild. There's this blue glowing object, lines are moving toward it. Wind is whipping everywhere like a damn hurricane, steam is rising, his hair's doing that anime protagonist thing, flying straight up, and his bed sheets are getting yeeted onto the floor while his face stays dead serious through the whole light show. When it's finally over, Irun opens his eyes and realizes he just speedran 60 years of internal cultivation in one sitting, which is honestly pretty cracked. He checks his status screen and sees he's got one achievement unlocked, but for the next one he needs to rank up his soul image. And here's where his whole plan falls apart. He was going to sell off all his martial arts stuff and quit trading to focus on other things. But it looks like that's not happening anymore because now he wants to advance to System 2, and to make it happen, he needs another item that he was eyeing for a long time. So once again, he opens up the affiliate market page and starts looking for the yin and yang bugs. So Irun pulls up the item description for these yin and yang bugs and realizes he needs to do some research before dropping coins on this. So he hits up the seller in chat like he's sliding into DMs, and this guy starts dropping absolute lore bombs. Turns out these aren't just regular shop items, they're actual living organisms, and the bug part of their name literally means loneliness because they're parasites that live inside people and completely mess with their heads. The seller explains that if someone absorbed these bad boys, they'd basically lose all hope and feel like their entire life is crumbling. But you can use these bugs to completely reprogram someone's personality. Like you could turn an honest, generous person into a lying, greedy scumbag, and it works both ways too. So theoretically, you could fix terrible people. Though let's be real, nobody's using evil mind control bugs for charity work. The way this seller was talking started weirding Irun out, so he activated his Eye of Insight ability to get more intel on this dude, and boom, a bunch of system windows popped up with info about him, plus some sketchy details about soul images and evil god stuff. And after reading through all that, our boy was 100% certain this guy was absolutely unhinged. But you know what? That somehow makes him more trustworthy because at least he's honest about being a psycho. The blood demon keeps yapping about the bugs and eventually drops this crucial warning: don't ever use them on family members. And Aaron's like, okay, noted. The guy warns him not to use these things on family or lovers because once the bugs are in someone's body, you get total mind control over them. But there's literally no undo button. It's permanent. He mentions people are constantly asking how to remove the bugs, especially dudes who use them to make girls fall for them, and then caught feelings and regretted the whole thing. The message is crystal clear: once these bugs go into someone, they're basically stuck there forever like a cursed tattoo, so use them wisely. And Aaron's sitting there with this smile on his face because this is way different from what he expected to buy. But now he's got a whole plan forming, and he's already thinking about who's going to be the lucky contestant eating these bugs. Cut to the night training hall where Javis is grinding away with his sword when Aaron shows up carrying a cup like he's delivering Starbucks, and Javis finishes his set while our boy watches. Then Aaron walks over praising him, saying how he's really built different because this level of training would make normal knights collapse from pure exhaustion. But Javis is still standing strong like it's nothing. Aaron compliments him all sweetly and then casually offers him a drink, and Javis grabs the mug, about to thank him for being generous. When he looks down and sees this green abomination sitting in the cup, there's green liquid that looks absolutely vile, and he's immediately thinking his throat's going to be destroyed after drinking this toxic waste. He turns to Aaron, about to politely refuse because hell no. But our boy hits him with the ultimate weapon. Extra cute shining puppy dog eyes, and one look at that face and Javis knows he's cooked. There's no escape. So he chugs that disgusting concoction down while internally dying the whole time. Aaron's watching him like a proud parent and says he made it especially for him and that it'll be good for his body, totally not suspicious at all. Javis hands back the empty cup and thanks him, even though Aaron can tell he's absolutely not grateful and probably wants to throw up. Then Aaron asks for a favor. He wants Javis to move away from the palace, and Javis is confused but agrees because what else is he going to do after drinking mystery green sludge? They head into the forest and Aaron asks Javis to show him his aura, and Javis thinks this is kind of adorable. Like Aaron's just being a curious kid wanting to see cool magic tricks. He pulls out his sword, tells Aaron to step back for safety, and concentrates hard. And then his sword starts glowing as he activates his aura like he's powering up in a shonen anime. Aaron's watching real carefully thinking, yeah, this is exactly what you'd expect from the Ace Knight, a pretty impressive display. But then he starts analyzing the actual quality and density of the aura and compares it to his older brother's level. And it's not even close to the same tier, completely different leagues. Aaron smiles to himself, thinking how even though the aura Javis showed off is impressive to normies, it's also not at a level where he should actually be worried, and everything's going way better than he expected. So Javis just flexed his aura, feeling himself a bit, and when Aaron starts gushing over him like a fanboy, Javis gets all shy and embarrassed, saying he's nothing compared to the Count or the Captain. Then it hits him. Wait, both the Captain and Aaron's dad have auras too, so why'd this kid specifically pick him? Aaron explains it's because Javis is the youngest. He probably unlocked his aura around 20, maybe even earlier, so it's only been like 10 years max. He's going on this whole speech about how incredible it must feel to overcome that wall and surpass yourself, asking who else could possibly understand that feeling. Javis is standing there scratching his head thinking, why did we have to walk all the way out to the damn forest for this? Figuring maybe teenagers just hit differently emotionally. But then Aaron suddenly claps his hands and the entire vibe switches up. The friendly kid act, gone. Dude's got this nasty smirk now, asking if Javis finally gets it. Finally caught you, huh? Javis is staring at him like, bro, what? Completely confused if this is even the same person. Aaron starts mocking everything he just said about overcoming walls and surpassing yourself, calling it straight up nonsense, then casually goes, it would be pretty bad if everyone found out about your secret, right? How's the weather in the south, Mr. Emperor Spy? And just like that, he calls Javis by his real name, Harvest Durkle. Javis is internally screaming because his entire mission just went up in flames. He tries to play it cool, acting confused, like, spy is a bit much, don't you think? But Arun's not having it, pointing out how everyone acts the same under pressure. Javis tries to recover, telling Arun if he actually had evidence, they wouldn't be out here in the forest. He'd have snitched to the count or captain already. Arun just calmly asks if that means he's admitting to being a spy. Javis backtracks hard, saying he's lucky he's not a spy because if he were, Arun wouldn't be leaving this forest with a pulse. Arun asks if that's a threat, and Javis is like, nah, just saying you're being mad careless right now. Arun literally laughs and agrees. Yeah, he's the only one who knows, and they're completely alone out here. He even asks if Javis could kill him right now, and Javis is thinking this kid's either the dumbest person alive or trying some weird intimidation tactic. Either way, just knowing his real name is too dangerous, so yeah, he's gotta go. Javis pulls back his sword to end this, swings at Arun's head, and the kid just vanishes. He's looking around completely lost, sword still out, 100% sure he cut him. Then he hears something behind him and barely blocks Arun's strike in time. When he looks up, his whole worldview shatters. Arun's standing there with a sword glowing blue, covered in his own aura. Javis glances down and realizes his sword's broken in half. Arun's mocking him now, asking how he even became a spy when he attacked, so obviously and exposed his back like a complete amateur. Javis is on one knee mentally cursing himself out, admitting he never worried about the youngest Steel Guard son because everyone said Arun was trash, basically useless. Even when they found out he was hiding his talent, it didn't matter because the island's stacked with geniuses anyway. But Aura at 16 years old? Nah, that's different. That's the level of legendary heroes like Lazakan or the current hero Levidon. Javis throws away his broken sword, realizing his life's actually on the line now. Arun looks at him and casually says, "Fist fight then," and tosses his own sword aside too. Javis is shocked this psycho just threw away his advantage. Arun puts his hand out with that same evil grin, basically saying, "Come at me, bro." Javis knows fighting someone with aura barehanded when his sword's gone is stupid as hell, but what choice does he have? He screams and charges at Arun with his fists anyway. Arun closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, then snaps into a fighting stance. Javis raises his fist and it gets covered in aura, the breaking fist of despair, world breaker. Our boy unleashed that skill and immediately went, yeah, that might have been overkill, while Javis is sitting in a straight-up crater of dirt, coughing up blood, completely mind-fucked about what just happened. He's watching Arun walk up all casual and thinking, how the hell was this dude hiding skills like this? Javis tries playing tough, asking if his man is okay, and attempting to stand up, but he just hiccups and collapses. Arun's standing over him, cool as hell, telling him straight up, don't even think about resisting or it's gonna get way worse. Javis is clenching his teeth, pissed, realizing he isn't bluffing. The strength gap is crystal clear now. He's holding his busted arm thinking, yeah, I'm cooked, and asks Arun, who snitched on him? Was it the inspector or the security bureau? Arun looks at him like he's stupid and says, you don't seem to get the situation here. I'm asking the questions, not you. Then Arun goes on this whole monologue about how he's always wondered why the Empire even bothers with this island. Like, Steel Guard is literally just known for being where Lavadan stopped the Empire's invasion. It's not some research hotspot or strategically important. So why is the information department wasting resources sending spies here? What's the Empire really after? And they didn't send just anybody either. Javis is basically medieval Lloyd Forger. He's got all the spy skills, plus he's an aura user, meaning he's also a knight. Sending someone this skilled means the Empire is genuinely worried about Steel Guard. Arun tells him the silent treatment just makes him look more suspicious, but Javis keeps his mouth shut. So Arun switches tactics, asking why he's so loyal when he's just a replaceable tool. Does he really think the Emperor gives a shit about him? Javis shoots back, saying it doesn't matter, and Arun's like, I could make you talk, but that'd just make things worse for you. Javis gets all dramatic. Go ahead, rip out my nails, tear off my limbs, do whatever. But Arun's like, chill bro, I didn't even think of that. What am I, a savage? You think I don't know torturing a trained spy is a complete waste of time? Then Arun pulls out this little bottle, and Javis is confused as hell, asking, what is that, a bug? Arun sighs, saying how a certain someone would be pissed if she heard him call it that, then starts explaining, these are yin-yang bugs. The one in the bottle is the yin. And the yang? Yeah, Javis already ate that one. Javis goes pale, asking, what the fuck do you mean I ate one? And Arun reminds him about earlier when he checked his drink and thought it looked safe. Yeah, not so much. Javis immediately starts puking his guts out, and Arun casually tells him to relax. It's too late. Anyway, the beetle's probably already chilling in his brain by now. He explains how these bugs share feelings, especially pain, and if the yin dies, the yang loses its mind and starts eating through your brain until both you and the bug are dead. Javis is on his knees calling bullshit, saying he's never even heard of creatures like this, but Arun just pulls out a long needle and says, better to feel it once than explain it 100 times. Before Javis can process what's happening, Arun stabs the needle into the jar. The white beetle screams and Javis feels like 1,000 lightning bolts just went through his skull. He's writhing on the ground in agony, while Arun explains the beetle feels it worse than the yin, but the owner feels it even worse than that. Then Arun starts running through the steps his mentor taught him. Step 1 is light poking, which feels like countless spear wounds stabbing you over and over. Step 2 is dunking it in cold water, which makes you feel like you're frozen solid and can't breathe, worse than being tortured naked on a snowy mountain. Step 3 is putting it near fire, which feels like being thrown into hellfire with your flesh burning off your bones, except it's all happening in your head. Aaron's rubbing his chin all satisfied, thinking, damn, my mentor wasn't lying about this technique, while Javis is absolutely broken. Cut to a few moments later, and this boy is all tamed up now. Javis starts spilling everything. He admits being a spy, drops his real name, and is ready to be questioned. Aaron asks him straight, why did you come to Steelguard? What does the Empire want? Javis spills like a broken faucet, explaining the Empire's terrified of a second Lavadan showing up. See, the Emperor is the only one with a rank higher than heroic, and since even mythic ranks are lost to history, legendary rank is supposed to be the absolute peak humanity can reach. But Lavadan, the knight who stopped the entire Empire from conquering a whole continent, the Heart of Steel himself, became a mythical rank, and then his son also became a heroic rank. Aaron's like, yeah, I know all this already. Tell me something new. Javis explains that having a couple heroic ranks isn't the issue, the Empire has those too. Hell, they even have a legendary rank, so that's not what's freaking them out. The real problem? A heroic rank son born from a mythic rank father? You think that's just a coincidence? The Empire started wondering if there's something in Steelguard's bloodline itself that's producing these monsters. So Aaron hits Javis with the direct question, is this the Emperor's prediction? And Javis just goes silent, bowing his head, which confirms everything. Aaron pushes harder, asking for the actual intel, and Javis starts hyping up Kieran, the golden boy grandson everyone won't shut up about. He's going on about how impressive it is that Kieran hit second rank at his age, saying he could reach his grandfather's level or even his father's, but Aaron cuts him off cold, saying that's impossible. Javis agrees, saying he'd be thrilled if Kieran even makes it to awakened rank because he genuinely believes the bloodline is watering down with each generation. Then he looks at Aaron and drops the bomb. Well, at least that's what I thought until now, admitting he was dead wrong because our boy clearly inherited the lion's share of that legendary bloodline. Aaron's frowning hard, realizing this spy isn't just slightly off, he's completely missing the mark. The truth? Aaron can only use aura because of that dimensional transaction book he scored. It's got nothing to do with genetics or some fancy bloodline inheritance the Empire's investigating. But what does matter is that the Empire's still actively watching them, which means there's a real chance his father's disappearance wasn't some random tragedy. It might be the whole reason Steelguard fell in the first place. That disappearance became Navarro's biggest unsolved mystery, and Aaron never cracked it even in his past life. Now he's connecting the dots. The Empire isn't just spying, they're actively trying to prevent a second Lavadan from rising, which is a whole new plotline he wasn't expecting. Cut to Daddy Dearest was doing his mental training indoors when suddenly he screamed out in pain. This has been happening way too often lately. He wipes his mouth and sees blood on his glove. He doesn't know when it started, but training gives him brutal headaches now, and that blood proves things are getting dangerous. Worst part, he can't shake it, and resting does jack shit to help. He's wondering if it's some internal injury he ignored, or maybe even a demon of the mind screwing with him. Right then, Kaloi interrupts, apologizing for breaking up his training, but saying this is urgent. Lavadan stands up, asking what happened, and Kaloi drops it. Your youngest son came back. Lavadan's like, okay, and Kaloid's freaking out, saying he's with the merchant Ulaf, and he discovered the Imperial spy. Lavadan's face drops when he hears his youngest somehow drag back an Imperial spy. Next thing we know, we're at the White Palace rising through the clouds with this whole dramatic scene on the steps. Aaron and the warden are standing there. Below them is Aaron's crew, including some dude in a white cloak bowing, and another guy's just straight up dead on the floor. All the siblings are staring in shock at Javis's corpse lying there covered in blood. Lavadan takes one look at the body, realizes the spy's actually dead, and Aaron immediately bows, apologizing that he tried to save the guy's life but failed. His father tells him there's no need to apologize and to go get treatment, but Aaron insists he's fine, so Lavadan demands the full story. Aaron turns to this hooded dude sitting next to him and introduces him as the Mana Stone seller. The hooded merchant's just chilling there with his eyes closed while Lavadan says he's heard of this guy. Aaron explains, he went to late to meet this seller. They left together but something felt off. Someone was tailing them. People around are confused, asking why anyone would follow a random merchant all the way here, and Aaron explains, he lured the spy to a quiet spot and confronted him, which is when the bastard pulled his sword. Lavadan asks how Aaron even knew it was a spy, and Aaron boy hands over a folded piece of paper, calling the butler to pass it to his father. Everyone's just frozen in shock as Lavadan reads it, humming thoughtfully before looking up and confirming that, yeah, just like his son said, this knight was definitely a spy. Kieran loses his absolute shit, asking if what's written is actually true, and Lavadan explains it's some kind of code the Imperial Information Department uses. He's seen this type of thing before. Kieran reaches out, asking, but what if it's just coincidence, just a random copy? And Lavadan gives him this disappointed dad look. That makes even Aaron go quiet. Lavadan stares at his eldest son, asking if it looks like Kieran doesn't want this information to go to the Empire. Kieran gets defensive, saying, of course not. The Empire's a problem we need to deal with. But Lavadan asks if that's the real reason. Kieran insists it is, but Lavadan's already reading him like a book, thinking about how some people always believe in the best outcome no matter what, like assuming it'll rain tomorrow just because it didn't rain today. That's fine for regular people, but he looks at Kieran and says that's not how Aaron thinks. If there's no rain, you prepare for a drought. That's how a leader thinks. He asks Kieran if he understands, and his son exhales, looking down and muttering, "He gets it." Lavadin then tells Aaron this was excellent work, and Aaron plays it humble, saying he just accidentally caught the spy. Meanwhile, Kieran's standing there clenching his teeth in pure rage, frowning and mentally cursing Aaron because once again his little brother just made him look like a complete clown in front of their father. So the scene cuts to our boy's room, where he's sitting on his bed, honestly kind of shocked they actually locked him up in there. He's got a tiny scratch and everyone's treating him like he's on his deathbed, potions after every meal, mandatory checkups, the whole 9 yards. His dad personally ordered all of it. Then Aaron turns to Javis and asks how long he's planning to keep that mask on. So Javis pulls it off and just stares at it all, surprised. It's only been 1 day with our boy. And Javis keeps getting hit with shock after shock. First Arun's insane strength. Now this whole spy operation. Seeing Javis examining the mask, Arun casually tells him to be careful with it, since that mask is basically his lifeline now. And if he ruins it, tough luck, because Arun can never recreate that exact face again. Javis is confused at first. Then it clicks, the mask is made from real skin. The guy completely freezes up, hands shaking, and drops the mask in full horror mode. Arun just watches him panic and calmly reminds him that yeah, the mask is his lifeline, so maybe don't drop it. Javis pulls himself together enough to ask why Arun keeps hiding how insanely powerful he actually is. Arun shrugs it off. He's only 5th rank and people are already acting weird around him. So imagine if he showed what he could really do. He tells Javis straight up that there's only so much pressure a chisel can take before the stone just breaks. But Javis doesn't see it that way. He's like, bro, you're a descendant of Lazakin's steel guard, implying Arun could flex on everyone if he wanted to. Javis gets this look like he's about to suggest something, and Arun immediately shuts it down, tells him to stop being cocky and asks if he seriously wants to become some walking billboard that drags the Empire's attention their way. Javis backs off real quick, and then Arun holds up this little bottle with a larvae slug inside it, and just smiles, basically saying Javis is already in his pocket. The guy goes pale but knows he's got zero leverage here. He hands over the spy report he wrote, which calls Arun a complete nobody with zero progress, a nitwit retard with a trash brain, which, fair, was the plan. But Arun still acts mildly offended about it just for fun. The report mentions everyone's progress except the female steel guards, and apparently everyone except our boy is doing fine. Arun skims through it and mock complains about the insults, so Javis immediately gets defensive, saying it was Arun's idea to lay low in the first place. Arun's like, yeah, but you have to bury the lies between truths being too obvious is just as dangerous. Javis offers to adjust the report to peg Arun at around 6th or 7th rank instead of complete trash, and when Arun asks how he'll even send reports without a comms manager, Javis mentions he knows an agent in Acadio. Arun basically goes, cool. Looks like we're taking a trip soon then, and sends him off. But in his head he's wondering if this is even a good idea or if Javis would make a decent double agent. He figures he'll keep tabs, and if Javis ever flips back to the Empire's side, well, there's always that bug in the bottle. Right after Javis leaves, Arun hears footsteps, and his dad Levedon walks in, hair all messy, asking how he's doing. Arun's genuinely caught off guard, like visibly shocked because this kind of thing just didn't happen between them. Not in this life, not in the last one. He's used to distance from his dad, so having him just sit down on the bed next to him feels completely foreign. Arun plasters on a smile, saying he's totally fine thanks to all the potions, and tells his dad not to worry about pushing back the trip. Levedon goes quiet for a second, then gets to the point they found where the spy was hiding. Apparently his guys were up all night tracking it down and discovered the spy was disguised as a merchant. He says they're bumping up the guard numbers because of it. Then still sitting right next to Arun, he tells him it was all because of him. Arun tries to brush it off like it's nothing. But Levedon cuts in and says, yeah, Arun did something huge, but that doesn't mean he gets to go risk his life like that, because losing him isn't something Levedon is willing to accept. Arun's sitting there looking at his dad and his brain just starts doing comparisons. Past life Levedon was cold, distant, basically stone-faced. This guy in front of him is completely different. And then it hits him, hard. During the fall of Steel Guard, he could remember every face that was there. His brothers, sisters, everyone. His dad wasn't one of them, because Levedon disappears 2 years from now, when Arun's away at the academy. The only memories he has of him are from childhood, so this whole time Arun's been misreading him, keeping him at arm's length, and now he's sitting right next to him, realizing he had the guy all wrong as he was deep in thoughts. His dad speaks, breaking the silence, telling him that based on how Arun's been handling himself lately, he thinks he'll be fine in the capital, but still tells him to be extra careful and watch his back out there. Arun looks at him with this quiet sadness, thinking his dad's the one who actually needs to be careful. Levedon catches him staring and asks what's wrong, if he got hurt somewhere. Arun snaps out of it, waves it off, big smile, thumbs up, totally fine, just listening. Inside, he's kicking himself for almost letting it all spill out. He was thinking about telling his dad everything, but he knows telling his dad everything would just make him sound unhinged. So he swallows it and decides he'll fix the future himself. Cut to outside, and our boy and daddy dearest are standing in front of the vault. Given his recent achievement and the fact that Arun is leaving for the academy in a few days, his dad decided to reward him something, and this bastard immediately asked to be let inside the vault. So here they are. Then Levedon opens the door and gives Arun an hour to look around the inner vault. Arun is immediately thrilled, but keeps it cool. His dad notices and asks if he really likes the vault that much, casually mentioning that if Arun wants something with pocket money, he can just ask. Hearing that, Arun turns around, and bro picks up on the way his dad said that, and realizes that old man sounds disappointed. But then he immediately picks up on that, because if anyone else had an opportunity to ask anything of him, almost everyone would have asked to be taught by the heroic Night King. But here he was asking for some inventory time. But Arun just smiles, waves it off, and says he doesn't need gold, just wants to look around. He feels a little guilty about it, mentally apologizing to his dad, knowing that everything he's saying is technically a lie since he already knows this place from his past life. Levidan laughs softly, says that's good, and heads outside to wait. And just like that, Arun's alone in the vault, reuniting with shelves full of stuff he remembers like old friends. He wanders through the aisles, checking things out, rare items, not necessarily expensive ones, but unique ones. He spots the commander's shield, a royal gift with morale-boosting magic, strong enough to rally an entire army. Arun looks at it and immediately clocks the politics behind it. The king gave them a shield, not a sword. They were meant to protect him, not fight for themselves. His grandfather figured that out eventually and tucked it away in here. Then he finds his grandfather's actual gear, a black shield, a kimono, and the sword called Dark Sky, a narrow blade with a red and gold hilt. He reaches out mentally with his inventory system and notices it's nearly full. His left eye goes red as he checks 763 out of a 1,000 capacity. Time to upgrade. He drops 200 coins to hit level 2, then 500 for level 3, and nearly sleepwalks into spending 1,200 for level 4 before catching himself. He stops there, telling himself not to be reckless with money even if he has it. The upgraded inventory looks like a dingy room with a wooden door and a stone floor, and Arun is deeply unimpressed given what he just spent. He picks up Dark Sky to check its stats. Eternal Dark Steel took a blacksmith over 100 days, can't be cut even with an enhanced aura, and holds the spirit of its master. Arun grins, confirming what he suspected his grandfather was part of the same system he's in, a dimensional traitor, and Dark Sky has been with him since the beginning. He puts it back, satisfied. Then his face drops. He got so caught up that he almost forgot why he actually came here. He starts looking in the vault for the Dimensional Trader book. As he's looking around, he's thinking he has to destroy it if it goes in the hands of one of his siblings. Things could go downhill like they did in his past life, and he absolutely can't let that happen. A little while later, Arun's tearing through this vault like a man possessed, checking every shelf, every nook, every cranny, and still nothing. The Book of Transactions is straight up ghosting him. He's getting desperate now, crouching down to check the low cabinets, and then this man literally gets on the floor, belly down, stretching his arm under a shelf to grab whatever he spotted back there. He's grunting, reaching, probably getting dust all over himself, and finally his fingers close around something. For a split second, his heart jumps. Maybe this is it? Nope, it's a black egg, just sitting there. Shiny, weirdly heavy, almost metallic looking. Isanadrin stares at this random egg for a moment with the most what-the-hell expression, decides this is absolutely not his problem right now, and just shoves it back under the shelf like it's somebody else's science project. Whatever, he's got bigger fish to fry. After ransacking the entire place, he finally accepts the truth. The Book of Transactions isn't here. And honestly, that's actually fantastic news because it means he's the only person with access to the spatial exchange system. He lets himself feel a little smug about having this massive monopoly, but that satisfaction lasts about half a second before his brain latches onto the next unsolved mystery that's been eating at him. How the hell did he even travel back in time? And more importantly, how did he get connected to this whole spatial exchange thing in the first place? The only lead he's got is that bookmark of Wish, this blue-violet bookmark with a fancy talisman that he remembers from right before everything went black in his previous life. He was sitting there bleeding out in so much pain, the memory's basically a blur, but he's pretty sure he wished for a second chance. He also thinks he wanted to monopolize spatial trade. But here's the problem, the bookmark only grants one wish, not two. The math isn't adding up. He stands there trying to piece it together, absently patting himself behind the ear like that's gonna shake loose some hidden memory, and eventually just gives up. He's not solving this mystery today, so we might as well move on. Since he's already in the vault and came all this way, Arun figures he should at least grab something useful before he leaves. He wanders back through the shelves, eyes scanning over his options. He passes by his grandfather's legendary sword, Dark Sky, stops to consider it for a moment, and then shakes his head. Nah, that's too much and too attention-grabbing. He looks at some magical artifacts scattered around, mentally runs through whether he actually needs any of them anymore, and decides he's good. Then he glances over at a shelf stacked with books and wonders if maybe he should just take his grandfather's old research notes. Those could be valuable. And that's when the black egg from earlier decides to make a comeback. It literally rolls out from under the cabinet again and bumps right into his foot like it's got a personal vendetta. Arun looks down at this thing completely baffled. He definitely shoved it back under there. It doesn't have legs, it's an egg, and yet here it is rolling up to him like a lost puppy. Then it clicks this vault belonged to his grandfather, who was literally the greatest spatial merchant to ever exist. Of course, there's weird, unexplainable stuff in here. That's basically on brand. So he picks the egg back up, this time actually curious, and tries scanning it with his inventory system to see what it is. The scan comes back completely blank. Now that gets his attention because his system might only be level 1, but it can still read most things. If it's drawing a complete blank, That means this egg is from a higher dimension than anything he's encountered before. He holds it up, activates his Eye of Insight skill. His left eye flashes red as the ability kicks in, and the absolute second he sees what this thing actually is, his entire expression changes. We don't get to see what he saw yet, but judging by his face, this egg just became very, very important. Cut to the next scene, and it's time for Aaron to leave Steelguard Mansion and head to the Royal Academy in the capital. In his past life, this exact moment was basically a farewell party celebrating his departure. People whispering finally we're free of that trash, laughing behind his back, two girls saying someone like him never changes, and Steelguard was better off without dead weight like him. He remembered walking through all those contemptuous stares and sneers, feeling like absolute garbage, knowing nobody would miss him. But this time around, completely different energy. The people seeing him off actually look sad. They're telling him to stay safe, take care of himself, and come back and visit. Irun waves at them all with this genuine smile on his face, actually touched by the whole thing, thinking about how wild it is that just a few weeks ago, he was the most hated person here, and now he's somehow become Steelguard's hope for the future. He lets himself feel quietly proud of that transformation. His sister Karen pulls him aside while everyone else is loading up the cart with his stuff. She asks if he's happy about leaving, looks at him with this warm expression, and reminds him it's going to be 4 whole years. He laughs it off, telling her he'll be back for holidays, no big deal. Then Karen goes full big sister mode and just starts rattling off this entire checklist. Prioritize your health when you're traveling. Make sure you wash your food properly. Don't leave laundry piled up everywhere. Remember to be polite to people and be careful out there. Hidrun just nods along quietly, letting her get it all out. She smiles softly and admits she knows he'll be totally fine, but she can't help worrying because he's the youngest and that's just what older sisters do. Then she takes his hand and places this small bag tied with gold thread into his palm. Money. Hidrun looks at it nervously and tries to refuse, telling her he already has a decent allowance from the family. She just brushes him off, saying she heard it might come in handy. He thanks her, genuinely grateful, but then his brain catches up and his face goes completely stiff. Wait, hold on. His sister shouldn't have this kind of money just lying around, so where did she get it? He looks at her more carefully this time and notices something's missing. That ruby pendant she always wore around her neck, gone, and suddenly it all clicks. What she did to get him that money, and honestly I'm starting to question my own family setup. Because our sister's supposed to be this good? Because the one I got delivered at home just eats all my food and yells at me all day. Pretty sure I got a faulty model. A few moments later, and Irun's sitting in the carriage staring at that little pouch Karen gave him, and he just feels like absolute shit about it. It doesn't take a genius to connect the dots. That was her ruby pendant. She sold it to get him this money. Now logically speaking, it wasn't some ancient family heirloom passed down through generations or anything that dramatic, so there's no real reason this should be hitting him as hard as it is. But it does. He leans back in his seat, crosses his arms and tries to rationalize it. He already knew how much she cared about him. This shouldn't be a surprise. Then he thinks about what she's actually dealing with right now. Steelguard doesn't even have a proper headmistress at the moment, so Karen basically stepped up and became one herself. She probably felt like it was her duty as the eldest to send him off properly, even if that meant selling something she genuinely loved. That thought just sits there heavy in his chest. He exhales slowly and thinks to himself that those feelings of responsibility, that weight she's carrying, those should be his burden, not hers. He shakes it off before he spirals, reminding himself he doesn't have time to sit around drowning in his feelings. He needs to be more prepared than ever, so he pulls up his system interface and checks in on Seokyun to see how their little business arrangement is going. The chat opens up, and it's already a complete disaster. Seokyun has only managed to send over 30 coins in one transaction and 22 in another, and Erun is immediately pissed. He tells him straight up that he's wasting time. Seokyun starts stammering about automatic exchanges and client calls and trying to explain himself, but Erun just gets colder with every pathetic excuse. When Seokyun keeps trying to justify his terrible performance, Erun doesn't even argue. He just pulls up their contract and casually bumps his own cut from 80% up to 83%, which drops Seokyun's share down to a measly 17%. Seokyun winces seeing the change go through, but he literally can't do anything about it because the contract is enforced by the exchange center itself. There are 0 loopholes, no wiggle room, nothing. Arun sits back feeling extremely satisfied with himself, mentally running through the beautiful terms of this deal. Seokyun agreed to follow his every single order, keep absolutely everything secret, and hand over 80% of all his profits for 100 years straight in exchange for protection from getting killed. 100 years of basically being a corporate slave. Lloyd would be so proud of this level of exploitation. And here's the most beautiful part of this whole setup. Seokyun has already gotten so used to the money and the upgraded lifestyle that even at 20% he would never quit. He's hooked. Arun smiles to himself, thinking he's basically like a piece of candy that never runs out. Then Seokyun actually delivers something useful for once. He found the book Era needed. It's called Evangeline's Breath, and it was created by this legendary swordmaster from Earth 388-4 named Evangeline, someone who apparently conquered an entire world by herself. The backstory is kind of badass, actually. She got frustrated that basically every martial arts technique in existence was built specifically around the male body structure, so she said screw it, and created one designed specifically for women instead. And apparently during that process she discovered something absolutely incredible, but the explanation just cuts off right there. Our boy is obviously curious as hell to find out what she discovered, so he tries digging deeper using his Eye of Insight ability to pull up more information, but he hits a wall, no additional data comes through. He asks Seikun about it, and Seikun cheerfully mentions that whoever wants to actually use this book would need to be at least 3rd level in their cultivation to even attempt it. Eren immediately snaps at him, asking who the hell he's calling 3rd level. Seikun clarifies that if someone can't properly use sword chi yet, they're probably sitting at 3rd level. Eren goes quiet for a second, then tells him to shut up, because his internal energy is literally at level 3 right now. Seikun almost starts crying, asking whose fault that even is at this point. Then he asks about the stability of the technique, because the last thing he needs is something that'll blow up his meridians. Seikun reassures him that it's gentle and flexible with a really low risk of internal injury, so it should be safe. Good enough. Seikun also mentions he barely managed to get this one, had to reach out through a whole network of friends and contacts, and finding something better would be nearly impossible at this point. Eren asks about the other books he's still tracking down for him. Seikun says he's currently waiting on sellers to respond to his inquiries, and Eren tells him to forward them the moment they arrive. Then he just leaves the chat mid-conversation while Seikun is trying to bring up the topic of interest rates again, but Eren's already gone. He sits there holding the book in his hands, genuinely pleased with it. It's well written, the translation is excellent, and the technique itself seems perfect for what he needs. He gets up and walks over to where Karen is sitting, then holds the book out to her with both hands. She looks surprised, asks if he bought this specifically for her, and tells him he really didn't have to do that. He smiles warmly and tells her it might seem kind of random right now, but there's a reason for this gift, and she'll understand everything once she actually reads it and starts practicing. Karen promises she will and thanks him sincerely. He watches her for a moment and thinks about how she genuinely has real talent, way better natural talent than he ever had before. He came back in time with all his future knowledge. He pictures her future self becoming a special knight, someone truly powerful, and he thinks about how if she had just been given the proper opportunity to grow and develop that talent in his previous timeline, Steelguard would have never fallen the way it did. He can't say for absolute certain. Becoming a truly great knight is incredibly hard and requires more than just talent, but he knows deep down that his sister won't waste a real opportunity when it's actually placed right in front of her. He thinks about everything else he could potentially give her eventually to help her grow even stronger access to the system, another high-level martial art technique, top-tier mana stones to boost her cultivation, but not right now. The timing has to be exactly right for those things. He claps his hands together, feeling satisfied with this decision, then almost walks away before suddenly remembering one last extremely important thing. He turns back toward the crowd of people still gathered to see him off, points 2 fingers at his own eyes in that classic gesture, then slowly turns those fingers toward Darren, giving her the universal "I'm watching you" signal. Then for good measure he drags his finger across his throat with the most serious expression, silently telling her not to do something stupid while he's gone, or there will be consequences when he gets back. With that, the cavalry hit the road. Meanwhile, our boy's sitting inside the carriage. He's having this whole reflective moment, thinking about how different everything is now compared to his past life. Back then, academy life was basically a slow death, but now, man actually has his shit together. He fixed things with his family. People don't look at him like he's human garbage anymore, and he's leveled up so hard that the gap between old him and new him is about to get even more ridiculous. Then right in the middle of his main character moment, he gets a ping from Sokyun, saying the seller he's been tracking finally hit him back. Arun immediately tells him to patch the call through, and when it connects, he's hyped as hell. He whips out this pitch-black egg and checks the info window. Turns out it's a Bulgasari egg, which is basically a monster that hatches into pure chaos. The description's wild. When it's born, it's weak as hell, practically useless, but it just keeps growing and growing until it becomes this unstoppable force of nature that eats metal and can literally cause natural disasters. But it's stupidly loyal to whoever raises it, so if you train it right, you've got yourself the ultimate ride-or-die companion. It's like having a living natural disaster in the palm of your hand. Then Sokyun drops a file on the seller, and Arun dives right in. The guy's name is Henry. He's an animus from System 4, a 4th-level trader, decent in a fight, and sitting on 418 coins. Arun's immediately suspicious. Why the hell is a System 4 guy hanging around Channel 1? He digs through the Exchange Center records and finds his answer pretty quick. Henry's a mid-tier fighter, ranked somewhere around 3,800, who's been burning through all his winnings on gambling. Arun cracks a smile because this just got way easier than he thought it would be. He hits the call button, and Henry picks up shirtless, holding some random horn like he's in the middle of something weird. The dude's got this cocky energy right off the bat going, oh, so the System 1 guy finally shows up, and Arun's just like, whatever. Show me the item. Henry pulls up this absolutely massive guide called something like the Tamer, more monstrous than the monsters. It's this legendary manual written by the King of the Beasts himself, covering every beast taming technique you can think of across 666 parts. Arun only wants part 215, the section on Bulgasari, but Henry immediately shuts that down, saying he can't sell individual parts. He wants to move all 14 parts he's got as a bundle for 2,000 coins. Arun's just sitting there thinking this man has actually lost his mind if he expects him to drop 2,000 coins just to hatch one damn egg. He doesn't budge an inch. Henry starts doing the hard sell, talking about how this is the book that made the Emperor of Beasts, how it's incredible value and all that salesman bullshit. Arun immediately calls him out on that garbage. The books were written after the guy became emperor, so that whole argument is worthless. He counters with 150 coins for just part 215. Henry fires back saying, the complete 666-part collection is worth over 300,000 coins and that 14 consecutive parts count as a premium item, so the price is justified. Arun gets it. That part actually makes sense, but he's not about to let this dude walk all over him either, so he decides to go nuclear and casually offers to just buy a copy of part 215 for 100 coins. Henry absolutely loses his shit, screaming about the author's blood and sweat and licensing rights and intellectual property, and Arun's just sitting there wondering if this guy's about to have a stroke. Then Arun actually looks closer and notices the copyright symbol stamped on the book, and it finally clicks. Oh shit, that's actually a big deal. The Exchange Center manages those copyright tags directly, and if you get caught selling bootleg copies of marked books, you're permanently banned from the system, and they strip every single coin you've got. Arun quickly apologizes, saying he didn't see the mark, and Henry rants about how they're cracking down hard on copyright violations now, so copying is completely off the table, and Arun has to pivot. Arun regroups and drops his final offer, 200 coins for part 215, take it or leave it. Henry goes quiet, clearly thinking it over, and Arun just casually closes the chat window with this smug-ass smirk on his face, because he knows exactly what's about to happen. Like clockwork, Henry sends a new invite almost instantly. He tries to push for 250, but Arun doesn't move a single inch. Henry's visibly stressed now, muttering about how selling part of the set is going to tank the value of what's left, but you can tell the man's desperate. Eventually, he caves completely and agrees to the 200 coins. Arun's internally celebrating because he already knew Henry was backed into a corner. The guy's barely sitting on 400 coins total. He came all the way to System 1 probably trying to recover his gambling losses, and he had absolutely no leverage in this negotiation. 3 notifications pop up on Eren's screen. 180 coins spent on part 215, 27 coins cashback because apparently he's got some kind of discount going, and a message from the copyright system saying the knowledge can only be used inside the Exchange Center or absorbed directly into his brain. Eren absorbs it immediately and starts reading through the information. It turns out Bulgasari starts off as just a regional level threat, but with proper training it can scale all the way up to national level, then continental, and in theory if you really know what you're doing, it can reach planetary levels of destruction. The taming difficulty is rated A rank, which is already insane, but the specialness rating is straight up S rank. Eren just stares at the egg in his hand, completely stunned, realizing he's been carrying this thing around without actually understanding what the hell it was. The egg catches the light and shimmers with this ominous glow, and Eren actually flinches back a little because the idea of a planetary level threat is genuinely terrifying, even for him. Cut to a few moments later, and Eren's sitting there going through the guide, and now everything about this King of Beasts title is finally making sense, and he's hyping himself up like, yeah, I definitely made the right call buying this thing. But then reality hits when he gets to the hatching instructions, and oh boy, this isn't no simple crack the egg and boom you got a pet situation. Turns out Bulgasari is what they call an imperfect organism, which is a fancy way of saying this thing needs genetic material from another creature just to start existing. We're talking saliva, blood, mucus, literally any biological fluid you can think of. And the care instructions? Absolute nightmare fuel. Different methods for day and night, super specific conditions basically. Nobody in System 1 could realistically pull this off without losing their mind or their monster. But Eren's locked in. He realizes the most important thing is the quality of whatever genetic material he feeds this egg first, because that's literally going to determine the ceiling of how broken this thing can become. He needs something strong, something that'll make this Bulgasari an absolute menace. His brain immediately goes, beasts. They exist even in the trash tier systems 0 and 1, except people there call them spirits because they don't know any better. He pulls up the store catalog and sees beast parts are selling like hotcakes, organized into tiers, human grade, earthly, heavenly, and then some mysterious shit above that. Eren's staring at the options, but he's smart enough to know he might pick wrong. Then it hits him. He's got the perfect person to consult. He hits up Sukyun, and before Eren can even finish his sentence, Sukyun's already panicking like, bro, are you about to make me tame some beast myself? Eren tells him to chill the hell out. He's not that stupid to hand an important task like this to someone who doesn't even have inner cultivation, and asks him to check out a file real quick. He sends over this whole list of beast parts he'd been eyeing earlier, all ranked by combat power. Sukyun opens it and actually looks impressed for once, calling it a solid list. Then he breaks it down like he's giving a TED talk. Okay, so the 10,000-year-old iron-mouthed turtle? Great blood for cultivation, sure, but at the end of the day, it's still just a turtle that got old. The real heavy hitters on here are the bloody fire dragon and the 1,000-year-old bear. Those things will fuck you up. Eren cuts to the chase and asks which one's better. Sukyun doesn't even blink. The bloody fire dragon, no contest. He explains that's what a regular snake becomes after thousands of years of cultivation and training. A dragon's a dragon, period. The bear doesn't even come close to that level. Our boy thanks him for the intel and is about to hang up when Sukyun suddenly starts stammering. He awkwardly mentions how he bought the Evangelion's breath book out of his own pocket, but before he can finish his sob story, Eren cuts him off and asks, Did it hurt your wallet? Sokyun goes pale. You can practically hear him sweating through the phone. He tries to backtrack like, no, that's not what I meant. But Iren's already asking how much the book cost. Sokyun, defeated, admits it was 30 coins and tries to justify it by saying he was in a rush and didn't have time to haggle. Iren immediately narrows his eyes and asks if he's lying because, of course, our boy already ran a price check using stream recognition, like the paranoid genius he is. Seokyun just sighs and admits he can't lie to Iren anyway because Iren will find out and then he wouldn't buy the book regardless. So what's the point? Iren, feeling generous, opens up the contract and bumps Sokyun's rate back to what it was before as a reward for being honest. He smiles and asks, "Are we good now?" Sokyun quietly agrees while internally screaming because he knows he just got completely played. He'll call if he needs anything else and casually drops the bombshell that if Sokyun doesn't pick up within 10 minutes, he's getting slapped with a penalty. Sokyun just accepts his fate. Now that he's got the expert opinion, our boy doesn't waste a single second. He immediately buys the bloody fire dragon blood and is now standing there holding this bottle in one hand and the egg in the other, looking between them like, will this even work? This egg's been collecting dust in storage for like 10 years. But he says, fuck it, and tips a couple drops onto the egg and they immediately hiss and evaporate on contact like he just dripped water onto a scorching hot pan. Then the egg starts glowing this deep, intense scarlet light and Aron's face absolutely lights up. It worked. He's low-key in awe, thinking about how this thing stayed alive after years of being locked away in his grandfather's dusty-ass vault. He starts wondering who his gramps even traded with to get something this crazy from System 4, but honestly, he has no clue. So he just puts that mystery on the back burner. A little sound comes from the egg like a soft chirp, and Aron tenses up for a second, then relaxes when everything settles. He was worried the egg might straight up reject the blood and die on him, but nah, it seems happy with the premium dragon juice. Now all he can do is wait. Time passes quietly, the carriage rolling past this scenic lake with mountains in the background. With real peaceful vibes, our boy decides not to waste the downtime and starts cultivating, getting his training in, but then the egg starts moving. Cracks spread across the shell, smoke starts seeping out. Aron leans forward, absolutely buzzing with anticipation, picturing this terrifying planetary-level beast, the legendary living disaster, the fearsome Bulgasari of System 4, about to emerge and wreak havoc, and out pops the tiniest, most wide-eyed the little creature you've ever seen in your life. Our boy is internally screaming, seeing how adorable this little thing is. Then a question pops into his head. Wait, why did it hatch so soon? But then he looks at those big, round, innocent eyes staring up at him and just goes, fuck it, who cares? It's so cute. Cut to a few moments later and Aron's done admiring how adorable his new murder pet is. Now it's time to get down to business. He straight up draws his sword and slices open his own hand without hesitation, letting it bleed, then holds it out to Sari like he's offering a snack. The logic comes straight from the guide. Bulgasari don't have mammary glands, so Mama Bulgasari feed their babies with blood. If you get them hooked on your blood early, they imprint on the taste, bond to you for life, and all that natural I want to murder everything. Aggression gets dialed way down, making them way easier to control long-term. The little guy goes at it enthusiastically. Maybe a little too enthusiastically. Aron watches calmly at first, but then starts realizing this tiny menace is genuinely drinking an alarming amount of blood, like concerningly fast, and he's like, okay buddy, that's enough, grabbing him by the scruff and pulling him back. He's internally thinking he really needs to figure out a more sustainable feeding method before this adorable thing accidentally kills him through blood loss. That would be an embarrassing way to go. Once things settle down, he puts exactly 0 brain cells into it and goes with the genius logic of, you're a Bulgasari, so how about sorry? The pet immediately squeaks in what is obvious disapproval, like he just got named dog or something. The little guy's stuck with it. Soon it's almost time for the cavalry to take a break. They stop to eat and stretch their legs, and Javis comes up to check on our boy. He spots the bandaged hand immediately and gets concerned, asking what the hell happened. Aron waves it off like it's nothing and says he got bored in the carriage and accidentally cut himself while messing around with his sword. Javis just stares at him and says flatly that he absolutely does not believe that bullshit excuse, especially after seeing what Aron's actually capable of in combat. There's no way someone with his skill level accidentally cuts himself. Iran looks away awkwardly, internally admitting to himself that yeah, he probably needs to come up with better lies. Javis grabs his sword hilt with this serious expression and tells Iran to be more careful. Keeping him alive is literally his one job, and he'd really prefer not to fail at it. He then mentions the group stopping to eat and will push on until sunset after that. As they're heading back toward the carriage, something rustles in the bushes nearby. Javis's hand shoots to his hilt, ready to draw and throw down with whatever's about to jump out, and then Irun's hand comes down on top of his, stopping him. Irun just calmly says it's fine. Javis looks at him like he's lost his mind. Then Serd comes bounding out of the bushes like a gazelle and leaps straight into Irun's arms, immediately answering the unspoken question. Javis stares at this tiny creature and makes his best guess. Is that some kind of weasel? Irun holds his uninjured hand protectively over Sari's head and says it's his pet. Javis asks since when the hell he's had a pet, and Irun casually drops, I've had him for a while, then hits him with the most devastating follow-up. Weren't you the one spying on me? How did you not know? Looks like someone was slacking on the job. Javis sputters, completely caught off guard by the call-out. Irun introduces them properly, telling Sari to say hi to the green-haired guy. Sari looks up at Javis with these big, curious, innocent eyes, and Javis visibly starts melting, seeing those adorable round eyes. He reaches out to pet him, probably thinking he's about to have a wholesome Disney moment. The second his hand makes contact with Sari's head, the little guy's expression drops into pure contempt, like Javis just insulted his entire bloodline. Javis yanks his hand back immediately, assuming the animal just straight up hates him for no reason. Irun points out, completely deadpan, that Sari literally just watched him almost draw a sword on Irun 5 seconds ago, so maybe that's on Javis for making a terrible first impression. Javis throws his hands up in defeat, says he gets it, and shuffles off to grab some food, looking properly humbled. Meanwhile, Sari's eyes are literally burning. This little guy was fully ready to square up and protect his biological father. Irun raises his hand and Sari puts his tiny front paws on it, and they just have this moment where they look at each other. Irun thinks to himself that yeah, getting drained was absolutely worth it for this bond. The carriage rolls on through scenic mountain passes and lush green forests, the coastline path stretching out ahead. Irun sits with his arms crossed, deep in thought, running through all the theory from the Emperor's Guide. He's thinking about how Bulgasari's potential is directly tied to what you feed it during the hatching and early growth stages. The dragon blood he used already took care of the first critical part of that equation, giving Sari a strong foundation. But the next part is going to need a proper elixir, which he's already mentally preparing himself for because those things are not cheap. We're talking serious coin. Speaking of which, he glances over at Sari to check on him and does a complete double take. The little menace is sitting there happily munching on the bamboo life pill. You know, the extremely rare and valuable pill that the leader of the mountain bamboo sect personally gave him as a gift. The one that cost 150 coins. The one Irun had been carefully holding onto for the perfect moment. He just stares in silent devastation, watching his investment get eaten in real time. He slumps over with his head resting on his hand, looking absolutely defeated, and accepts that he's going to have to get back to hustling hard to make up for this loss. He checks his mental timeline, 53 days left before the monthly trading limit resets, and he needs to lock in his next product ASAP. Options start swirling around in his head as he runs the calculations, thinking through what would sell well across multiple systems while keeping everything balanced and profitable. The base price has to be high to make it worth his time. The margins need to be real. He's doing mental math like he's preparing a business presentation. Then something clicks. His eyes go wide, he sits up straight, and in his head he declares with absolute confidence, "I've figured it out." So our boy Irun just discovered the ultimate money glitch. He figured out he could flip internal cultivation gear on the exchange system for 250 coins a pop, and with his VIP perks he'd actually pocket way more than that. Man started fantasizing about swimming in gold coins like Scrooge McDuck, laughing to himself, thinking he's about to pull in thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Easy. But then reality hit him like a truck. The exchange had this bullshit 500-day resale restriction, meaning he'd be locked out for over a year before he could run this play again. His whole mood crashed instantly. But just when he's about to rage quit, an achievement pops up. King of Gold, and suddenly he's back in business. So what does our boy do with all these coins? Goes on an absolute shopping spree, buying elixirs and random items like it's Black Friday, hyping himself up because these elixirs have no sales restrictions. Man's already planning his next money-making scheme before he's even finished this one. After the trading madness, Irun turns his attention to his pet and starts dumping colorful elixirs on the little guy like he's feeding a Pokemon rare candies. Sparks are literally shooting from the pet's eyes, and Irun's sitting there looking like he just ascended to heaven watching it happen. He checks the pet's fangs, pokes around in its mouth like a dentist, and confirms everything's growing properly. Apparently when these pets hit a certain stage, their fur and fangs fully develop, and they're officially not babies anymore, and his boy Basara just hit that milestone. Irun's relieved because he can finally stop burning through elixirs on this thing. He does some quick math on where all his coins went, about a third on the pet, another third reinvested into the exchange for future flips, and the rest on cultivation items and general supplies. Then he pulls out this blue paper, some healing magic thing called the second circle of daytime healing magic, and just rips it apart with the biggest grin on his face. Blue light explodes above him, and magic starts swirling everywhere. He closes his eyes, soaking it all in, and says something like, "Chi breathing is good for the soul, but nothing beats this for fixing up your appearance," because apparently in his past life he was the life of every party. Man touches his face and basically admits looks matter, and he's going full pretty boy mode this time around. Then he gets word they're still half a day out from their destination, and tells his crew to keep moving and rest when they arrive. They roll into Acadio right as the sun's setting, and Irun's crew pulls up to this massive 3-story mansion, and everyone's just standing there with their jaws on the floor. Irun's chilling there, all satisfied. Next to Javis, who starts to mention something about a hotel, but our boy cuts him off immediately. He tells everyone they need proper rest and to be taken care of, then straight up tosses Javis a bag with 200 coins in broad daylight and tells him to get the crew hot baths and good food, saying there's a fat tip in there, because his people deserve to enjoy themselves after coming this far. Javis is genuinely shocked, saying it's way more than enough, but Irun just smiles and says they're not here to play around. He asks about the meeting spot and the green-haired guy points toward the castle walls, saying he left a mark there and they'll hear back once someone notices it. Irun crosses his arms and says fine, they'll wait. That night the crew absolutely loses it at some tavern drinking, screaming, full-on feast mode. Irun and the green-haired captain are sitting separately, just watching their guys go wild. Some of the crew tries to drag the captain into the drinking, but Arun looks dead at him and threatens to kill him if he drinks even one glass. The captain goes pale as hell, dramatically presses his fist to his chest, and tells his guys that one drink leads to two, and two leads to three, and they're not fooling him today. The disappointed crew walks off. Then this girl accidentally bumps into the captain while carrying a tray of drinks and apologizes. He tells her to be careful and sits back down. As he's settling in, Arun casually asks if he still got the item. Javis takes a sip of water and goes, "Who do you think I am? I got surprised because it is the first time someone bumped into me, so purposefully." Night falls and Arun and Javis are already stalking through the back alleys. Javis unfolds this map and starts breaking down how they carved up the city into sections, pointing at a letter T that marks where Trevor is the guy they're hunting down. Our boy Arun hits him with the classic, "You sure this is going to work?" And Javis is all casual about it, saying everything's locked in because he's worked with Trevor before, so there's no reason to stress. He's ready to bounce right now and handle it solo. Arun asks if he's really going alone, and Javis basically schools him on street rules too many. Eyes watching in this city, and if people catch them rolling together, it's gonna raise red flags everywhere. Arun gets it because logically Javis is right, but here's the thing. Logic and trust are two completely different animals. He's thinking about how they've been traveling together and gotten pretty tight, but being close doesn't automatically make someone trustworthy. So Arun throws him a curveball and demands a progress report right there on the spot. Javis looks genuinely surprised and asks if Arun seriously doesn't trust him after everything. Arun doesn't even blink. He just tells him straight up there's no trust between them, it is what it is. But here's where Javis shows he's not just some hot-headed amateur. Instead of getting in his feelings about it, he raises his hands in surrender and tells Arun he can search through the report himself if he wants proof it's legit. Arun goes quiet for a second, processing, then asks if Javis is offended by the whole thing. Javis keeps it real and says he knows exactly where he stands in this relationship, and he's not stupid enough to do anything reckless. Then he drops some actual wisdom. He says his own life matters to him, and he's not about to throw it away over some lingering suspicion from the past. Arun hands the report back without saying a word, and just tells him to get going. Javis bows like the professional he is, and disappears into the city streets. Arun's left standing there in the alley having this whole internal moment, realizing that whether someone's trustworthy or not, you can never fully read what's going on in their head. So Arun pulls out this scroll with a red ribbon, rips it open and activates an invisibility skill. Some third circle transparency magic that sounds way cooler than it probably should. Magic starts swirling around his arm all dramatic-like, and then boom, he's completely gone. He looks down at his own hand and thinks it's working even better than he expected, then gets curious and wonders what would happen if he stacked his light body skill on top of it. Turns out when you combine them, our boy basically becomes a straight-up ghost. He's moving across rooftops above the city streets now, jumping between buildings and gliding over regular people below, and all the lit-up windows without anyone having a clue he's there. At one point, he stops and crouches on a rooftop just to take in the whole view of the city at night, because honestly, it probably looks pretty sick from up there. From his vantage point, he spots Javis down below, and even from that distance, he can tell the guy knows what he's doing. Javis isn't rushing or acting shady, just moving naturally through the crowds like he belongs there, blending in perfectly. But Arun's also got sharp eyes because he clocks three dudes in matching uniforms, trailing behind Javis at a distance. He smiles to himself, good thing he didn't tag along after all, because that would have been a mess. Javis eventually reaches this house that's got every single window lit up like someone's throwing a party, knocks on the door with what's probably some secret code knock situation, and soon enough a man steps out, looks around all nervous and paranoid, and then quickly lets him inside. Meanwhile, Arun's already on the roof of that exact same house watching the entire thing unfold. He's debating whether to activate another one of his abilities, something called 100-step perception, which sounds like it lets you hear from crazy distances, and decides to go for it. At first, all he's picking up is the most boring small talk imaginable, nothing remotely useful or interesting, but then he picks up on the real conversation and it's completely different from the pleasantries. Inside the house with the fireplace crackling away, Javis is standing across from Trevor, face to face. Trevor looks genuinely surprised to see Javis there in his city, and asks why he showed up. So Javis drops the bomb that Gilbert is dead. Trevor's whole expression changes. He looks actually shaken and immediately asks how it happened. Javis stays calm and throws it back at him, asking whether Trevor thinks it was an illness or an accident, which is a weird way to answer that question. Trevor grabs his head with both hands like he's trying to process it, pulls himself together after a moment, and asks how Javis is holding up with the news. Javis says that Gilbert had saved his life back in the day. Trevor goes quiet at that, crosses his arms, and says Gilbert must have stayed silent about everything right until the very end. Then something clicks in Trevor's brain, and you can literally see his whole face shift as the realization hits him. He turns to Javis and points out something that doesn't add up at all. The academy is in the capital, which is nowhere even close to this city, so what the hell is Javis actually doing here? Trevor locked eyes with Javis, waiting for him to slip up. His two goons mirrored the energy, staring daggers at Javis like they were ready to pounce. Up on the roof, Arun was sweating bullets, thinking, shit, did we just blow the whole operation? But Javis, the man didn't even blink, stood there cool as ice. Then our boy squinted at Trevor and asked in the most deadpan voice, are you seriously having fun right now? And just like that, the whole tense vibe shattered. Trevor exploded into laughter, throwing his hands up like, "Relax, bro. I'm just messing with you." He said he felt bad about what happened to Gilbert, but hey, that's the job. You can't sit around crying over everybody that drops, or you'll never get anything done. Iran finally breathed again on the roof, relieved they didn't just get exposed. Trevor leaned forward on the table and asked how the hell Javis even got here without anyone noticing, since the trip took way longer than it should have. Javis explained he'd used Arun as cover, mentioning he visited Akadio first, and since that guy's dumber than a box of rocks, he immediately said yes without asking questions. Arun's face twisted, hearing himself getting roasted like some disposable prop. Javis basically called him gullible as hell and said manipulating him was embarrassingly easy. Arun forced a smile through gritted teeth, thinking, why does it feel like this bastard genuinely means that? Javis slid a folded paper across the table and said it needed encryption before being sent to the Empire. Trevor grinned and asked if there was anything else. Javis just said nope, turned on his heel, and walked out like a boss. From the rooftop, Arun watched him leave and quietly gave the man his props. He'd passed Trevor's test with flying colors. But just as Arun was about to bounce, one of Trevor's guys spoke up inside. He pointed out how suspicious it was that the agent survived but the messenger ended up dead. Arun's heart jumped into his throat, thinking, oh fuck, did they catch on? But Trevor shut him down immediately. He asked if his guys seriously thought Javis would flip sides. The brown-haired dude shrugged and said technically Javis got demoted, so you never know. Trevor said flatly that Javis wasn't the betraying type. The man valued his family above everything else and would literally die before putting them in danger. The paranoid one sighed and muttered, you can never truly know someone. Trevor pointed at him and told him to drop it and get back to work, saying the higher-ups would decide everything and they just needed to pass the info along. Arun watched Javis fade into the darkness and thought the guy definitely had his own personal agenda driving everything he did. Arun headed back, and as the invisibility spell wore off, his body glowed red before he fully materialized. He looked at his palm grinning, thinking that invisibility plus the 100-step perception combo was absolutely money well spent, and he'd 100% be abusing this again. He strolled down the stone road feeling good until loud shouting yanked him back to reality. Someone was screaming about people not respecting hierarchy and someone else was yelling at them to shut the hell up. Arun turned toward the chaos and spotted a crowd biffing in the shadows. A group of pissed-off men were squaring up against some knights, furious that some barren knight had the audacity to talk back to them. The dark-haired knight fired back that his master was the Marquis, not whoever the fuck was barking orders at him. Then Arun's stomach dropped. He recognized those voices, his guys drunk off their asses, in the middle of a goddamn street fight. The knight puffed his chest out and declared that without Steel Guard, the Marquis wouldn't even exist. Arun froze at that name. His face went dark. Steel Guard. That meant Marquis Albert. The other side completely lost it. One guy screaming he was done trying to reason with crazy northerners, and that he'd teach this village slave what dignity looked like. The knight stepped forward and rallied his crew to defend Steel Guard's honor. Both sides charged. Then a loud voice cut through the chaos like a blade and everyone froze mid-swing. A man in a blue uniform with a red cape and a sword strapped to his belt stood there looking absolutely livid. Someone in the crowd gasped, "It's the second captain." Arun's hands started trembling. His teeth clenched so hard they could have cracked. Just seeing this bastard sent his entire body into fight-or-flight mode. He squeezed his eyes shut but couldn't stop the memories flooding back. His last life strapped to a chair, screaming until his throat bled. A room packed with torture instruments, a pool of his own blood underneath him, clothes drenched completely in red, his head hanging limp like a broken doll. And the one who did all that to him, this ugly bastard. So the second our boy saw his thought was murder, like he was this close to ending this dude right there. But then he caught himself and thought, nah, why give him the easy way out? I want this bastard to suffer slowly later. Before things could pop off though, Derica walks over to the two clowns who started all this mess, and the second these soldiers see him coming, they freeze up. Derica gets right in their faces and goes, didn't I literally just tell you idiots not to cause a scene? And these guys immediately start bowing and apologizing like their lives depend on it, which knowing how these stories go, they probably do. Then Derica turns to the Steel Guard knight, squints at him and asks where the hell he's from and what Steel Guard is even doing in a cardio territory. The knight's sweating bullets, now trying to stammer out an answer, but before he can get two words out, Arun himself steps forward saying he'll take over the situation. The whole crowd, Albert's guys, the knights, random NPCs, everyone spins around, surprised because our boy was using his internal energy in the speech. Our boy walks up all calm and confident and introduces himself with his full government name. Derek is doing the math in his head. A Steel Guard family member being present means this whole situation just leveled up in terms of who he's dealing with. Arun casually explains they stopped in Acadio on their way to the academy because he wanted to check out the second city, then smoothly flips it back and asks why the Alberts are here. Derica steps up, gives basically the same excuse, then immediately starts apologizing for the earlier trouble, trying to de-escalate. But Albert, this absolute moron, jumps in, all indignant, pointing at Steel Guard, going, why are you apologizing? They started it. And the second that idiot opened his mouth, you can see Derica's soul leave his body because he knows this spoiled brat has been coasting on his family's marquee title his whole life, bullying everyone without consequences. But you can't just flex a title on Steel Guard and expect them to back down. There will be consequences. Derica tries to salvage this train wreck by suggesting they all sleep on it and settle this in the morning like adults. Irun's not having it though. He asks with this perfect amount of sarcasm if anyone actually knows what happened here since they literally just arrived. Albert waves him off like he's swatting a fly and goes, "Doesn't matter bro, I outrank you." Baron is below Marquis' simple hierarchy. The Steel Guard Knights immediately tense up hearing that disrespect, but Irun? The man just smiles, looks down and lets out this quiet laugh. Then he looks up with that scary calm energy and tells Albert he's talking complete nonsense. Albert's face goes red, he points at Irun and screams for an apology. Irun just calmly says sure, he'll apologize if he's actually wrong. Then he turns to one of Albert's own guys and asks him to explain what actually went down. The guy from Albert's squad is visibly sweating now and he reluctantly admits that yeah, Steel Guard did start shouting first and then it escalated into a fight. Albert immediately jumps on that, screaming at Irun to kneel down and apologize right now. But Irun shuts him down fast, tells him to relax like he's talking to a toddler throwing a tantrum, and says both sides need to be heard before anyone apologizes. He turns to the Steel Guard knight named Michelle and asks if that account is accurate. Michael lowers his head and admits, yeah, they did technically start it, but he explains that Albert's guys were mocking them first, asking how long they plan to ride Lazakin's coattails, and acting like past achievements make them relevant today. Michael apologizes to Irun for causing a scene but makes it crystal clear he's not sorry for defending their honor. Then he basically yells that no Steel Guard knight worth a damn would just sit there and take that kind of disrespect quietly. Irun stays quiet for a second, processing, then calls out to the guy from Albert's side and asks if that part is true. The guy immediately starts backtracking and stumbling over his words going, well, we didn't really say that exactly. And Derek is staring at him like she wants to strangle this idiot with her bare hands, thinking this moron is single-handedly making everything worse. Irun catches the whole exchange, nods like, yeah, that's what I thought, and then turns back to Michelle and tells him to lift his head up right there in front of everyone and straight up praises him for handling the situation with honor. Michelle and the other Steel Guard Knights look at their young master with these emotional, almost teary expressions, like they'd die for this man right now. Then Irun pulls his cloak off his shoulder, revealing the black shield crest on his shirt underneath, and tells them that as a member of a family that inherited the Heart of Steel, there's no way he's letting this disrespect slide. Albert, Derica, and everyone else just freeze, staring at that crest. Now here's the thing. The Steel Guard family isn't some random noble house you can clown on at a dinner party. These guys have been protecting Navarro since forever, so our boy isn't going to let some pampered rich kid disrespect their legacy. Plus, he's got personal beef with this bastard. They'll fight for anyone who still respects them, and they'll shed blood for anyone who dares to laugh at them. He's staring dead into Derica's and Albert's souls, asking his own knights point blank, do you really think we're worthless? Derica and Albert are just frozen there looking gloomy as hell. And Derica's internally losing his mind because this kid Irun is the same age as his boss Albert, but he's talking like he's been running kingdoms for decades. Derica walked into this thinking Irun was going to do the typical noble kid thing, drop his grandfather's name, spout some rehearsed political nonsense, maybe throw a tantrum. But nope, this kid's standing his ground with the confidence of a war veteran. And Derica's sweating bullets, realizing this anger isn't just hot air, it's backed by one of the most powerful families in the realm. He's standing there thinking, oh shit, this is real Steel Guard blood right here. Meanwhile, Albert's over there grinding his teeth so hard they might turn to powder, silently cursing a run out in every language he knows. And the second Derica catches that look on his master's face, he knows things are about to go nuclear if he doesn't do something fast. So what does this absolute genius do? He turns to his own knights and starts absolutely demolishing them. Like bro showed zero mercy. He just starts wailing on his own guys, punching them straight in the face. Boom, one drops. Boom, another one hits the dirt. We runs watching this whole spectacle unfold and everyone else has their jaws on the floor in complete shock. Derica keeps going until every single knight is on the ground groaning in pain. Then he tells them they screwed up massively by embarrassing Lord Albert's name. The knights are sitting there with swollen faces looking pathetic, begging for forgiveness, and Derica with this cold dark expression tells them they need to apologize to Kunz, not him. He's tearing into them, saying they started this whole mess and humiliated the Marquess in front of everyone. The terrified knights immediately start bowing and apologizing loud as hell to Albert, who's just standing there with his arms crossed, looking annoyed. Meanwhile, Irun's watching Derica work and thinking, damn, this dude's actually pretty smart. Because what Derica just did was genius. He completely reframed the entire situation. Instead of it being Albert's fault for having disrespectful subordinates, it's now just some low-level knights causing trouble. By making them apologize, Derica made it look like the beef was only between the lower ranks, not between the noble houses. Irun realizes Derica just backed down without completely destroying his own reputation in the process, so he makes a mental note. Keep an eye on this clever bastard. Albert's had enough of this embarrassment and storms off, saying he's going to bed. Irun's smirking to himself, thinking, well, I didn't really get what I wanted here, so he casually drops, okay then. I'll accept Marquess Lebright's apology. The second those words leave his mouth, Albert freezes mid-step. The Marquess whips around with veins bulging on his forehead, face red with pure rage, and Irun just stands there with the smuggest, most confident smile you've ever seen. Albert's so pissed he can't even form words, he just turns and storms off, while everyone watches in silence. Derica bows his head respectfully and leaves with his master, and the knights scramble to follow. Just then Javis rolls up and seeing how tense everything is, nervously asks if he missed something important. Nobody replies, they all just slowly turn and stare daggers at him. Seeing those absolute death glares, he immediately starts apologizing like his life depends on it. He's like, I don't know what the hell I did, but I'm very sorry. Cut to the next day, Albert's eating breakfast, aggressively cutting his meat and asking Derica about Aaron's reputation. Derica confirms, yeah, Aaron's known as the absolute worst of the Steelguard sons, nothing like his dad or his brothers. Total disappointment, apparently. Albert's complaining that rumors are just rumors since nobody's actually seen Aaron fight, so why should they care about some kid with a sharp tongue? He admits straight up, he really doesn't like Aaron, and questions why Derica made the knights apologize like that in the first place. Derica explains that backing down was the smart play because people still fear the Steelguard name, and pushing Aaron any further could have made the whole situation explode in their faces. Albert grudgingly accepts this logic but says he's definitely going to make Aaron pay for yesterday's embarrassment. Nobody disrespects him like that and gets away with it. Then Albert notices something weird, he hasn't seen any Steelguard people around at all. He asks where they went. Derica says they left super early in the morning, like dawn early. He'd offered for everyone to travel to the capital together, since they're all heading the same direction anyway. But the Steelguard crew said they couldn't afford to be late and just bounced. Albert gets annoyed, asking why Derica did something he wasn't even asked to do, making it sound like they wanted to travel together. Derica calmly replies, it made sense to increase security numbers since protecting Albert is priority number one. Albert thinks that's arrogant as hell, puts down his fork, and says he's done eating. Later that night, Albert's knocked out in his room, snoring with his arms and legs sprawled everywhere like a starfish. There are two big windows with no curtains and one of them quietly creaks open. Albert keeps sleeping with his mouth wide open, completely oblivious, until suddenly someone's hand clamps over his face. He starts freaking the hell out, making muffled panic sounds, and when he finally opens his eyes, he sees Aaron looming over him in the darkness with a completely unhinged look on his face, his hand covering the Marquess's mouth. Aaron presses his finger to his lips, and Albert's having a full-blown panic attack, trying to figure out how this man even got into his room. He's feeling Aaron's grip on his face and thinking, where did this skinny bastard get this kind of strength? Aaron's got this creepy smile going, saying he's been fantasizing about the perfect revenge, really wanting to savor it and break Albert down piece by piece. But the second he saw Albert's face just radiating pure envy and hatred, he was like, nah, change of plans. Because looking at him now, Aaron realized this dude hasn't changed one bit from their past life. He's still the same pathetic, jealous bastard. Then we get flashback panels of Albert on his throne, surrounded by knights, and Aaron's remembering how he went full villain mode, attacking the Steelguard family and trying to steal everything they had. Back in the present, Aaron's got that unhinged stare locked on Albert, casually dropping the bomb that Albert's apparently dying tonight. In the flashback, past life, Aaron had grabbed two swords, blocking his way through the knights, yelling at Albert, asking why he was doing all this, like genuinely confused about what he did to deserve this. And this entitled prick Albert just grinned, asking if Aaron really didn't get it. Man was sitting there on his throne, confessing he had hated Aaron from the literal first time they met. Aaron froze, completely baffled, when Albert dropped the most ridiculous reason ever. He simply hated his name. Aaron just stared at this clown, asking if that was seriously the only reason he destroyed their lands and took everything. And Albert said Aaron wasn't any better than him. With his eyes narrowing, he went on this whole jealous rant about how even though he himself was skilled and learned techniques, just because of appearances and reputation, Aaron got welcomed everywhere with smiles and respect. Then Albert's eyes went full psycho as he grinned like a maniac, saying there was nothing special about Aaron. He was broken and pathetic. Aaron just stood there silently taking it while Albert called him a failed lord with no land, no power, nothing. The Marquess spread his arms wide, all proud, announcing he's the great Marquess. Albert, and with that arrogant smirk, said he'd finally won. Bro really destroyed an entire family because of jealousy and envy of the name. Cut back to the present, and Aaron's on Albert's bed with his hand clamped over the man's mouth. Albert won't stop squirming and making muffled panic noises, trying to figure out what this psycho wants from him. Aaron's just staring with those wide, unhinged eyes, and Albert's looking back, absolutely terrified, finally realizing that he's dead serious about ending him tonight. With shaking hands, Albert grabs onto Aaron's wrist. Aaron grins and removes his hand from Albert's face. The Marquess opens his mouth wide and screams for Derica at the top of his lungs, begging for help, except absolutely nothing comes out. He freezes in pure shock, sweat pouring down his face, thinking, what the hell just happened to my voice? Aaron casually waves his hand, smiling like he's explaining a fun party trick, saying these are called pressure points, and when you press them just right, they block your ability to speak. Albert's lips are pressed tight, the blood vessels in his terrified eyes literally bursting as he processes that he can't make a single sound until someone unblocks it. Albert watches as Aaron says, unfortunately, then smiles with that insane look again, adding that he can't just murder him and mount his face in a picture frame on the wall. Albert's shaking with pure fear, trying to piece together how this even happened. He's thinking there were guards posted all around his room, Dereka was literally right next door. How did no one notice? Then suddenly an idea hits him. He grabs the blanket and whips the whole thing at Aaron's face. Albert jumps out of bed and makes a break for the door, thinking he just needs to open it and scream. But a second later, Aaron's right next to him and drives a knee straight into his stomach. Albert starts violently coughing with spit flowing from his mouth. Aaron just stands there watching him with those cold, cruel eyes, then lifts his leg as Albert winces and drops to his knees. He tries pathetically crawling toward the exit, while Aaron watches his sad attempts like he's observing an insect. Albert jerks and freezes when 3 sharp strikes hit specific points on his back and neck. Aaron standing there with a slight smile, arm outstretched with 3 fingers extended like he just cast a jutsu. Albert feels like he's suddenly stuck in thick quicksand, realizing with horror that he can't move his body at all. Aaron walks over and grabs him by the collar, telling him not to move and not to create unnecessary problems, very polite for someone mid-murder. Indeed. Looking down at this pathetic man, he promises that if Albert listens and behaves, he'll make it quick and pain-free. Albert's got this gloomy, stunned expression, his brain struggling to process what's happening. Aaron drags him across the floor to the desk, and with one yank, throws him onto a chair. Albert's mouth drops open, when suddenly several more precise hits land on his back, and just like that, he can move again. He waves his right hand confusedly, testing it out. His eyes go wide with surprise when Aaron casually puts a blank piece of paper in front of him and straight up orders him to write. Albert raises his angry eyes up at Aaron, defiant. With a totally calm, unbothered expression, Aaron told him to pick up the pen, but Albert had zero intention of doing so in his mind. He was thinking how Aaron would obviously kill him the second he finished whatever he was supposed to write, so why cooperate? But the instant Aaron saw that hesitation, he immediately drew his sword and chopped both of Albert's hands clean off, making him eligible for the disability parking spot, and once again very calmly told Albert to pick up the pen. Once the shock wears off and reality hits, Albert starts bawling. He collapses, clutching his stump and screaming. Aaron looks down at him and goes, "I told you not to make this difficult. Why are you still being a little bitch about it?" Albert raises his tear-filled, hateful eyes. When Aaron brings the sword blade closer, Albert flinches hard. Then white magical energy glows around the blade and Albert's jaw drops. He thought he was locked in with an average crazy person, but it turns out it's a crazy bastard who can use an aura. Aaron's getting impatient. He raises his sword to chop off Albert's right foot when the terrified bastard throws his hand up. He struggles to his feet, drags a wooden chair over, sits down and grabs the pen with his remaining hand. He asks in a broken voice what he should write. Aaron lowers his sword and coldly tells him, "Don't get blood on the paper." With disgust, he adds that if even one drop hits it, Albert's head is rolling off. Aaron stands over him with the sword and starts dictating a letter supposedly from Albert's pitiful son to his father. Albert writes, the pen scratching across the paper through tear-blurred vision. He tries to cope, thinking he can get a prosthetic arm and his servants will handle everything else. With tears streaming and teeth clenched, he decides the most important thing is staying alive. Then he remembers when his hand got chopped off. He fell and made noise. Dereka should have realized something's wrong by now, right? The pen keeps scratching while Arun stands behind him. Albert's internally screaming, wondering why nothing's happening yet, and gritting his teeth. What the fuck is Dereka doing right now? When he realizes he's on the last sentence, Albert nervously glances up at Arun. He thinks he needs to stall somehow. Maybe make a mistake or spill some ink. Suddenly, Arun's face is right next to his, with an insane smile, and he creepily whispers that he's been reading Albert's thoughts from the very beginning. Why are you trying to waste time? Albert's face goes ghost white. Arun tells him to finish that last sentence. Albert's hand starts moving again as if he has no choice. Arun grabs the finished paper with a satisfied smile, saying Albert did well. Meanwhile, Albert's panicking internally. He won't last long with all this blood loss. Dereka has to understand something's up by now, right? Then Arun casually taps Kunz's throat. Albert touches his own throat and starts coughing. His eyes pop wide when he realizes his voice is back. Arun twirls his sword and asks what's wrong, cheerfully saying, "Now you can speak." Albert lets go of his throat, nervously clenches his teeth with veins bulging in his forehead, jumps to his feet and screams at the top of his lungs for Dereka, yelling that there's an intruder in the room. Grinning, Arun tilts his head and asks if that's really all Albert came up with, while standing at death's door. Albert stares at him confused when Arun tells him to go ahead and shout even louder. Albert can't understand why Arun's so chill. Doesn't he realize he'll get murdered when the guards show up? Rolling his eyes, Arun asks if Albert seriously thought he didn't plan for this. Arun reveals he used a silent scroll the second he walked in, so not a single sound can escape. Albert's eyes go wide, his whole body shaking as he stammers, asking why Arun even took his voice away in the first place. Picking up the letter, Arun asks with smug energy if Albert honestly would have written it if he didn't think he had a shot at surviving. The shocked noble crashes to the floor, his body trembling in absolute horror as he stares into space, reality finally hitting him. Looking down at him, Arun says he knows it's hard, accepting that Albert lost to the Steel Guards and that he caused all of this himself. Albert stammers, asking what the fuck he's talking about. Raising his sword with aura glowing, Arun says it's all because of Albert's inferiority complex. That's what got him killed. Albert desperately raises his remaining hand, shouting for Arun to spare him, saying he'll never forget this night. He swears. He grabs onto Arun's leg, shouting that his family's loaded, and he'll give him anything, just name his price. Arun looks down with pure revenge burning in his eyes and says the cold truth, you shouldn't have killed me. Tears flow down Albert's face as he screams, begging him to stop. Arun swings. Albert's body lies separate from his head, with blood everywhere. Arun calmly puts his sword away, saying that was honestly the best expression Albert ever had on his face. A red flame flashes as a small brown jar appears. Boric acid that melts bodies on contact, perfect for hiding evidence. The yellowish liquid pours out, and Arun thinks everything should look like Albert just vanished. Not that he died. The body starts dissolving, and the remaining pajamas emit nasty fumes as they melt away. Arun smiles, thinking he needs to deal with the dead man's belongings. He opens his inventory and grabs the pajamas before they fully dissolve. The steel guards are a full day's ride away, so it's impossible for him to return there overnight. Perfect alibi. He finds a sick black and gold magic sword, thinking the Albert family might suspect him later, but he's got his alibi locked down tight. He tosses 4 scrolls into the air. Red energy activates as invisibility, stealth, speed boost, and time reduction all kick in at once. Now completely invisible, he grins and suddenly disappears from the room as if he was never there. The letter he forced Albert to write says that his pathetic son finally realized he can't lead the Albert family, that he plans to escape somewhere he can live freely without the pressure, and asks his father not to bother looking for him because he's gone for good. Cut to the next morning, our boy's back in his carriage staring out the window. He got his revenge, so why does he feel so disoriented? He thought he'd feel good, victorious even, but nope, not even close to happy or satisfied. Now he's second-guessing himself. Did he rush it? Would it have felt better if he'd planned it out more carefully? But then he shakes off that thought. No, it was the perfect moment. He wouldn't have gotten another chance like that for a long time. He needs to stop thinking about that idiot. His mind drifts to his past life. The truth is, it wasn't because of Kunz that the steel guards fell. The real reason for their downfall was his father's disappearance. Suddenly, he slaps his own cheek hard, snapping himself back to reality. His eyes sharpen with determination as he thinks, now's the perfect time to like the video and help Mamoru make juicy content. And don't forget to activate that cheeky little bell. And I'm out.